One Piece: The Legend of Creation, Chapter 621-640. 620, 621 Hiroko Mako's Black Hand. A few days have passed since the turmoil of Sojiro Kusanagi, and Sarote, who should have been relieved with joy, was once again nervous and serious, because in the eyes of many gods of death, he was about to fight Aizen, who ruled the Zai Palace, and his subordinates. A crowd of broken faces fought. The strength of Shinigami Ichigo Kurosaki is also known to many Shinigami in Sarange, at least Bankai, who are all captain-level existences, but such a Shinigami can't please him in the hands of the broken face, but has been defeated many times. The first time was to Yami, the second time was to Liu Chengkong's Mount Grimjiao, and it happened again recently, that is, Aizen sent Ulquiorra to this world for some unknown reason. Kurosaki Ichigo fought a battle. As a result, Kurosaki Ichigo suffered a fiasco and was almost killed. If it hadn't been for Toshiro Hitsugaya, who had come back to the world and was stationed there, he might have been killed in time. No matter what, he was still covered in scars, and a hole was opened in his chest. Now he is not as happy as the original book, and he is treated by Inoue Orihime, and now he is just an ordinary classmate in Inoue Orihime's eyes. Where would he specially rush to the world to cure Kurosaki Ichigo? What's more, Orihime Inoue is now ignorant of things outside the window and doesn't know anything during the training in the hands of Unoka Lai, who has resigned the captain of the 4th Division and stayed in the Willow Mansion every day. And Urahara Kazuki and others did not live in the world like the original, and they have long since become captains, and it is even more impossible to treat him. In the end, it was Hitsugaya Toshiro who sent a message to the old man Yamamoto of the Soul Religion in the Soul World, hoping that he would send members of the 4th Division so that they could deal with injuries, and now Kurosaki Ichigo is also doing this. Captain Hitsugaya has been summoned back, hoping to send some members of the 4th Division over, because the 4th Division Captain Uno Hanari and Vice Captain Yumi Toru have resigned, and now they are the 4th Division Captain in an emergency. The selection of new candidates has been postponed for later discussions. Let Hanataro, Kenjiro Maeda, members of the 4th Division, and others join the team stationed there in the present world, and since the face is getting stronger and stronger, if Aizen will return, it's obviously not enough to rely on the god of death in this world to send these broken faces to sneak attacks, so this old man has decided to send 2 more captains to this world. Who are you going to go? The old man Yamamoto in the first team's office was full of mighty face to the people below. A series of captains standing there said, "Leave it to me." Hiroko Mako immediately volunteered and jumped out, looking like I would sacrifice my life for the Soul Society, if it weren't for the death god captain who was there. He knew who he was and why he was so active. The reason is likely to be deceived by him. Who else? Vivi twitched in the corner of old man Yamamoto's eyes, but the words were already out of his mouth. What else could he do? Moreover, Hiroko Mako's strength is really nothing to say, and he is one of the 2 heirs of the captain's position in his heart. He can't find some reason not to let him go. Your Excellency, the captain of the 12th Division has neglected his duties many times, and his laziness has seriously affected the atmosphere and majesty of the 13th Division of the Gote, so let him go. Komamura Zojun is very loyal. He jumped out and mercilessly pointed the gun at Kazuki Urahara, who had a sloppy face, and immediately made Kazuki Urahara sober up, and his face collapsed at the same time. "Haha, you deserve it, you did a great job. It seems that my report is still useful." Hiroko Mako looked calm on the surface, but she actually laughed in her heart. It turned out that Kazuki Urahara was lazy many times and let I was tired of dealing with documents and official duties, and as a result, I found Zijunzi's troubles, and he beat him a lot. He also asked Mako Hiroko not to help him deal with the documents in this matter. Let Mako Hiroko keep processing documents here to help him with things. Now Hina Moritao has resigned, and Liu Chengkong is cultivating a relationship with each other. Let Mako Hiroko not be like lazy as before. He was already very upset when he dealt with a lot of documents, and now he has to add the one from Hiyori, which made him collapse immediately, and regretted even more in his heart that he was fooled by old man Yamamoto to take back the position of captain. In the face of 2 large piles of files, Hiroko Mako is very loyal, with the idea of dead friends and immortals, and mercilessly pushes Urahara Kazuki's laziness and neglect of duty to the most just, and is a model of justice and discipline in the soul world. And Komamura Zojun did not disappoint Hiroko Mako, so this scene happened. If that's the case, then let Captain Hiroko, Captain Urahara and the healing members of the 4th Division go to the world together, and then when Aizen comes to the world after Benyu is completely unblocked, the remaining Gotei 13, the captain and vice-captain of the squad, have all died in this world to fight this battle. Quote. The old man Yamamoto obviously didn't know Hiroko Mako's little abacus, and he also had a little knowledge of Urahara Kazuki's neglect of duty, and his sloppy appearance really lost the face of the Gotei 13th Division. Give him something to do a little banging on him so he doesn't have so much free time. It's Captain Yamamoto. Urahara Kazuki grimaced, but he gritted his teeth in his heart, especially after seeing Mako Hiroko's smug expression and thinking of what Hiyori did to Mako Hiroko. He immediately understood what it was. One thing, it must be the black hand under Hiroko Mako. It's a pity that Mako Hiroko ignored Kazuki Urahara's vicious gaze, and instead returned a look of what can you do. Kazuki Urahara almost vomited blood, and he can't stay in the laboratory without any scruples for a while in the future. After some research, such a wonderful life is about to leave him. How can he be in a good mood? Especially now that he is the captain of the Technology Development Bureau of the 12th Division, he doesn't need to worry about research funding, but now he was cut off by Hiroko Mako, and of course he was so angry. It's a pity that his strength can definitely be ranked in the forefront among so many captains. At least it is almost the same as that of Aizen when he left the Soul Realm, and he has reached the peak before breaking the Ghost of Death, but when he faced Mako Hiroko, he immediately discouraged. He couldn't beat him, he couldn't win if he was scolded, he couldn't catch up with him, he was the one who was at fault, and he had already thought that he couldn't escape this time. If he escaped again, he would return to the 12th Division to meet her. Definitely Hiyori's ace slippers. What can he do? Hiroko Mako, who could only be saddened and with such a smile on his face, died in this world. 621-622 Ju Nanbai's decision. Shiro, why are you pulling me over there? Aiz Nanao has lived with Yazumaru Lisa and Kunanbai since childhood, so after returning to the Soul Realm, Lu Chenghong robbed his sister Lisa even though he was unhappy. But in order to regain sister Lisa, and not to separate from sister Lisa, she has always lived in Lu Mansion, and of course Ju Nanbai is the same. It's just that Nanao Eyes has always kept a look of no joy, no sorrow, and a cold look in order to prevent a certain satyr from attacking her. Today, Ju Nanbai doesn't know what's going on. He just dragged himself over. I'm a little scared by myself, I'd better let you accompany me. Ju Nanbai didn't know why his face was a little blushing and a little firm, but in the end these emotions disappeared, replaced by a firm and unmoved look of toughness. The many changes in her expression made Vivi, who was observant, sink in Vivi's heart. It seemed that Ju Nanbai should have decided to do something, but this one seemed to pay a lot of money, otherwise she would always act like she did. The naive, casual Ju Nanbai would not show this look. What are you afraid of? Aiz Nanao no longer struggled and let Ju Nanbai lead him to the hall of Lu Mansion, where Lu Chenghong basically stayed except sleeping. Don't tell other people, it's almost time to fight Aizen, but I only have the strength of the mid-level Vastord. I'm okay with other bad faces, but it's not enough to see Aizen, I can't take revenge. Although Ju Nanbai's tone was very brisk, her eyes were flickering with cold murderous aura. Although she was not deceived in the end, Hiyori, Fengchao Jiro, Liuch Kensai and the others were not. They have all been blurred, their achievements in life have been ruined, and they can only stop here forever. Every time she thought that she would become like this, she felt a little chill and palpitations, and when she had her own friends, especially the sadness in Hiyori's eyes, she couldn't restrain a murderous intention in her heart. You must know her. Hiyori and Yahomaru Liza's 3 daughters have grown up together since childhood, living in the same place, living in the same house. The 3 daughters have always supported each other until they became gods of death. Until now, she and Yazumaru Lisa escaped, but Hiyori didn't escape, so Kunanbai's hatred for Aizen did not decrease in the slightest compared to the original, otherwise she would not be able to do so after she became virtual. We'll fight so hard to become stronger. What do you want to do? Aiz Nanao, who often spends time with Yahomaru Liza, already had a general idea of Kunanbai's plan, and looked at the few masks on his face. Although it is very close to the appearance of the god of death before, but after all, it has not reached the point where Skrito has completely turned into a god of death like Haribel and Neliel. She seemed very naive, and Kunanbai, who often spoke in a coquettish tone, actually paid so much for revenge, which made Aiz Nanao feel a little sad. It took a lot of sweat and hard work from the death god to the virtual, and then cultivating to this point, but no one knows. Many people may be amazed that Bai has undergone such a big change in a month or two, but only in the broken world to see Ju Nanbai. Only those who have witnessed the whole process will know the hardships of Ju Nanbai. After all, Nanao Aiz and Nanbai are also very good friends, and they played together when Nanao Aiz was young, so she, Nanbai, and Hiyori have a very good relationship. Seeing her sister with such an expression, Aiz Nanao couldn't help but have murderous intentions on Aizen. But unfortunately her strength is limited, that is, the strength of the vice captain. How can she do anything? When I was breaking the boundary, I saw that Halibal quickly reached the peak before breaking the limit in a very short period of time from the high level of Vastord, and then reached the peak of the primary level of Skrito in a very short time, and now it is even more so. It has already broken through to the intermediate level, and I only found out after I asked Lisa. Ju Nanbai's face began to have two blushing when he said this, and his tone was not as relaxed and a little shy as before, but she still knew from Lisa that doing what she loves with Lu Chengkong will become very strong, especially the first one. Said everything once. If Kunanbai heard about Aiz Nanao from someone else, he would definitely say that this is Lu Chengkong's bragging, but it came from Liza Yadomaru's mouth and the real example of Halibal. Aiz Nanao also looked for it. Without any flaws. Then you plan to do that with him. This is related to the happiness of a lifetime. You must know that our death gods have a long lifespan, and the stronger the death gods are the virtual ones, the stronger the lifespan. You are now Vastord, you can live for at least 1,000 years. These things can't be decided hastily. Are you sure you like him? Aiz Nanao originally wanted to curse, but seeing the gloomy murderous intent in Kunanbai's eyes and thinking about the relationship between her and Hiyori, of course she wanted to kill the enemy herself, so she held back her words. When it came to the mouth, it turned into the above words. Of course I can't talk about love, but Sister Lisa has already become her wife, and Hiyori also found Mako. It seems that I am the only one who has been single, and only Lu Chengkong has not made me feel uncomfortable all these years. It's also very good to me. I owe him too much, and he really hasn't asked me for anything in return. Ju Nanbai said with a small mouth. Nanao, why do I feel that you seem to like going against him? To be honest, he is also a very good person. Although he has many shortcomings and is a bit lustful, look at him. Which of his women would look sad? Back then, when Zibo Heian had something to do, Kong he was not happy. You see, Lu Chengkong turned the whole soul world upside down in order to make Kong he laugh. Ask yourself, who can do this for a woman? Hearing the voices that kept coming from his ears, Aiz Nanao was stunned for a moment, and then his face showed a look of contemplation. He kept thinking about Ju Nanbai's words in his heart. Yes, why did he always oppose him? Because he robbed his sister Lisa. Or is it because he is too diligent for Sister Lisa to be worth it? But who is not a person with mixed reputation? How can there be absolutely good? If Lu Chengkong is really as bad as he thinks, then how can there be so many beautiful beauties around him, and many of them are extremely powerful of? If it was said that Lu Chengkong robbed them all because of his strength, but if this is the case, it is impossible for Saifeng Yuanyei and the others to show that kind of happy smile from the heart. It seems that he really only saw the bad things about him, and never thought about the good things about him. Now that she thinks about it this way, her views have changed, and she is horrified to find that Lu Chengkong, who she has always been unhappy with, is actually so good. There are really not many people who are so good to their wives for their own sake. For a while, old ideas and new ideas intertwined in her heart, making her struggle constantly. 622, 623 Ju Nanbai's dedication to Pul Naneo. Don't discuss this. After all, this is about your lifelong happiness. I still think you should not be too hasty, and you don't need to do this at all. With the current strength of Junzi and the others, even if Lu Chengkong doesn't make a move, they will win. You don't have to do that at all. Ais Naneo felt that his heart was already messed up, so he suppressed these thoughts for the time being and cared about Kunanbai in front of him first. If it were you and Lisa had something to do with you, what would you do? This time, instead of using a coquettish tone, Ju Nanbai put on a serious and slow way of speaking, letting Ais Naneo speak. Suddenly speechless. If it really happened to Yahomaru Lisa, she would definitely, like Kunanbai, try every possible way to make herself able to kill the enemy. The original Ais Naneo had no choice but to pin her hopes on the entire Sioran court. But now Ju Nanbai obviously has this opportunity, and looking at Ju Nanbai's appearance, it is obvious that he doesn't hate Lu Chengkong, and he even has a great affection for her. In addition, Lu Chengkong's kindness to her many times is not expected to be repaid. It seems that at present really the best choice. Ais Naneo had been thinking hard for a long time and couldn't find any idea that could fight back against Ju Nanbai to dispel her idea. It would be fine if Ju Nanbai hated Lu Chengkong, but the question still had a lot of goodwill. She Naneo has nothing to do. Since you've already made up your mind, why are you still pulling me? Ais Naneo suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. After talking for so long, it seemed that it had nothing to do with taking me with me. I was with me. If we go together, Ju Nanbai may be even more unable to let go. Because I don't know how to do it, so I want you to teach me when the time comes. Ju Nanbai's face was slightly red, and he lowered his head and said. Ais Naneo was suddenly speechless. What are you talking about? I am a single like you. What experience can I have? How can I teach you? You should go to Lisa. But she does not, knowing that Ju Nanbai was thinking in his heart, he was a little afraid to go alone. Hearing from Sister Lisa that Lu Chengkong is in great demand and very powerful, it was the first time for him, so relying on his own words is very dangerous. Based on the idea of sharing blessings and sharing difficulties, she felt that it would be better to take someone to accompany her, and living in Lu Mansion was the same as herself, and it was only Nelia Lu who had faced each other for a long time. The potential is 7. Rukia Tiger Toru Yuyan has not been here for a long time, and she doesn't have such a good relationship with Kunanbai. I have the best relationship with myself, and I have lived here for a long time. I have known Lu Chengkong for a long time, and I am still just like myself. Also, Ais Naneo was the only one who was influenced by Lu Chengkong. Others don't know, but however, Ju Nanbai knew that the women who lived in Lu Mansion were basically Lu Chengkong's targets. After years of watching as a bystander, Ju Nanbai had thoroughly confirmed this conjecture. Jinnanbai doesn't believe that Ais Naneo can escape Lu Chengkong's claws. Maybe Lu Chengkong has not attacked Ais Naneo until now, but it is just to flirt, or to leave Ais Naneo alone and helpless, and when he reaches the whole Lu Chengkong after all the women in the house became Lu Chengkong's wives, only one daughter, Naneo Ais, was left with a good solution. Since it will be like this sooner or later, it is better to go with yourself. Rather than being alone and helpless, it is better to have a company with yourself. I am also thinking of you, Naneo. Ju Nanbai thought so in my heart. If let Ais Naneo know that Jinnanbai, who is still trying to persuade, is actually thinking of such an idea, and I don't know if he will faint out alive. It's no wonder that no one dared to provoke Ju Nanbai when he was in the masked army. Ju Nanbai is indeed innocent and innocent, but naive, just like acting like a little girl who hasn't grown up. Doesn't mean she's not quite sophisticated, it's just that her little thoughts are used on the good side, and they are all trivial matters that are not important. For example, when arguing with people, they use coquettish simple but black-bellied words to make Kenshi and Meiko feel ashamed, and they are extremely angry, but they can't attack. However, Jinnanbai would not force Ais Naneo to do so, so she just said those words to Ais Naneo just to wake up Ais Naneo and let her not only see Lu Chengkong's bad on the one hand, I didn't see the good side of him, so Is Naneo's concept and view of Lu Chengkong could be reversed. And Jinanbai can see that the relationship between Is Naneo and Lu Chengkong is actually very complicated. There is resentment, gratitude, and anger. The signs of long-term bickering have made Is Naneo unknowingly. The time is integrated into this kind of life, but a layer of film binds the relationship between the two sides. As the saying goes, the friends who are happy are Lu Chengkong and Is Naneo. However, there is still a layer of film between them. As long as the relationship between the two sides is penetrated, the bickering in the past and the dislike of each other will lead to a 360-degree change. Of course, one person or something is needed in the middle. After piercing this layer of film, Ju Nanbai, who can see clearly now as a bystander, certainly doesn't mind piercing it himself. When the time comes, I will dedicate myself and bring Is Naneo along. Lu Chengkong will rise up, and if he can't satisfy him, Lu Chengkong will definitely reach out to Is Naneo. At that time, Is Naneo, who had a different opinion on Lu Chengkong, had the influence of himself as an intermediary, plus his own leadership and dedication, watching a live erotic palace, and psychologically intertwined with the contradiction between the two concepts, plus Lu Chengkong. Even if she wants to escape, she can't escape. Even if she feels a little resentful and doesn't want to, there won't be much resistance. At most, it's just that Lu Chengkong was too fast, and he blamed himself for sulking her, but Ju Nanbai believed that as time passed, and they lived with each other for a while, Is Naneo would be grateful to him at that time. If it wasn't for her, Is Naneo and Lu Chengkong might not know how long it would take for them to get together. When Ju Nanbai thought of this, the more proud he became and the more he admired himself. Naneo, look, I have no plans. I am thinking of your happy life. If you are familiar with Ju Nanbai, Hiriko Mako and Liu Quanxi, who have been beaten by Ju Nanbai's mouth for a long time, will definitely say that you are miserable, Is Naneo, and at the same time you will say that Shirai is really awesome. Even if he dedicated himself to himself and brought Is Naneo to accompany him, he could still make so many truths, but here I have to say that Ju Nanbai's vision is really accurate. As someone who has never experienced love, she can see so clearly, but it's no wonder that Ju Nanbai has lived for such a long time as a god of death or Zudu. I don't know, I don't understand, but as a bystander, Ju Nanbai sees it more clearly and knows more deeply. 624 Naneo who was fooled for nothing. It is precisely because of this that the longer they live, the longer they exist, and the richer their experiences, the harder it is for a death or an imaginary couple to be born, because they know too much about their experiences, although they know what they like best in their hearts. What kind of partner do you need most? But it is also because of too much experience, too much seeing, and too much acquaintance, which makes it difficult to find a better half that you like and satisfy the most, because both men and women think that if you don't love, one love is life. In addition, many times, even if you find your ideal goal, you will not get together immediately, but will try your best to get to know each other for a long time. As ordinary friends, you can finally confirm that it is the same as what you think after countless times. Second, they will come together, so the rate of death in the world is infinitely close to zero. Because they have lived for a long time, of course, they will need a partner who will accompany them for a long time in their lives. They all choose to live alone. Men too, and women too, and only a freak like Lu Chengkong knows what kind of character the women in the world of death are like, so he can prescribe the right medicine and create a harem army in the world of death. But even so, Lu Chengkong and many of his wives have been together for a minimum of 60 years, Landau, and the others are basically a long-distance love run for more than 100 years or more than a few hundred years. It's just that for a small number of wives, I used a little method, for example, like Lu Anju, but it took me nearly 100 years to get along with the girl, to shorten the time a little, but at least the others it also took more than 100 years and a few hundred years to come together completely. With many advantages and using many methods, Lu Chengkong will be out for such a long time, let alone other people. Of course, there are exceptions like Hinamori Dao, because she dedicated herself to a cause. But even so, they have come together, and together with Lu Chengkong's means, Chu Sentao is still not parted. This life belongs to Lu Chengkong. Although the relationship has not been cultivated, the heart of Xiao Sentao is also determined. How could I possibly do it, Shiro? Eyes Nanao blushed slightly and said a little embarrassedly. Obviously, a girl with a yellow flower seemed to be very experienced by Ju Nanbai. How could she not be ashamed? But you often slept with Lisa, and you used to spend the night in Chengkong's house when you were in this world. Even if you haven't eaten pork, you've always seen a pig run away, right? Jininbai's words made Eyes Nanao unable to keep calm any longer, with no joy or sadness, and she was ashamed by Jininbai's words. Why does the blue veins on the clothes reveal the appearance of mourning when Bai is white? And I finally fully understood why Hirako Mako and Liuch Kenshi were so happy when Sister Lisa took Ju Nanbai to settle in Lu Mansion, and their expressions seemed to be even more joyful after their great strength. Didn't you live in Lu's residence for a while now? You and Lu Chengkong have been separated from the boundary for 100 or 200 years. Don't you know? Eyes Nanao kept taking deep breaths and forced himself to calm down. It is absolutely impossible to be so angry with Ju Nanbai as Peace Zi Junzi Liuch Quanchi. Every time he and Harabel do that thing, they open the barrier, they can only see a yellow light outside, can't see anything, can't even hear the sound. How do I know? You and Lisa is a close friend of hers, so of course she has everything to say. It's done. Under the bombardment of Jininbai's indiscriminate bombardment, while being abusive and coquettish, Eyes Nanao, who was only concerned with coping, didn't even know that he had been pulled in front of Lu Chengkong by Jininbai, and now when she returns when I came to my senses, I didn't know why, but the bad feeling in my heart became stronger and stronger. It made her instinctively feel like she was about to run away, but it was a pity that Ju Nanbai held her hand so hard that she couldn't pull it out. Of course, Ju Nanbai's strength was compared to the current Vastord Middleton. The rank Grimjiao is only strong but not weak. How can Eyes Nanao, who only has the strength of the vice captain, struggle? It's rare. Why did you two come to find me together? And you Nanao, don't you miss me? Lu Chengkong immediately put a self-confident pose to Eyes Nanao. Said. Who misses you? Eyes Nanao may have gotten used to it. Although she has changed her opinion of Lu Chengkong, she still retorted habitually in a conditioned reflex. At the same time, she was very depressed and couldn't say anything. He was pulled by Jininbai, and now he can't leave if he wants to, so Jininbai took his hand. Why would you come here if you don't want me? It's not just one person who is used to bickering, not only Eyes Nanao, even Lu Chengkong is accustomed to bickering with Eyes Nanao, although every time he fights with Eyes Nanao failed and ended in failure. But Lu Chengkong was extremely happy with the stubbornness and tenacity of Eyes Nanao. The bickering with Eyes Nanao made that life more colorful, and Lu Chengkong felt a sense of accomplishment every time he saw Eyes Nanao, who was as cold and glamorous as Lisa Yahomaru, showing embarrassment. I'm too lazy to tell you. I came to see you because I had something to do, so I didn't want you to bully me. Eyes Nanao's face was a little hot when he said this. Come on. I just finished being bullied by Ju Nanbai just now. How can anyone bully Ju Nanbai? Hearing this, Lu Chengkong turned his eyes to Ju Nanbai. What made Eyes Nanao speechless was that the present Ju Nanbai was half as shy as he was just now. He clearly deceived herself, and it was precisely because of this that she felt the inconvenience became more and more obvious. It's a pity that at this time, she can't escape if she wants to. At this time, she still doesn't understand that Ju Nanbai just pretended. Although it may be mixed with a little bit of truth, it is definitely not that exaggerated. Thinking of this, she is speechless. She has always been wise and insightful, and she will be fooled by Ju Nanbai. Depressed. I want Aizen to regret what I did to Hiyori and the others. I want to take revenge myself, so I want you to help me improve my strength. I know that what you can do is to use Halibal's kind. Of course, could you give me that peony cake before? Ju Nanbai said very seriously at first, but soon the conversation changed, and he immediately returned to his original form. Have you figured it out? Lu Chengkong didn't expect that Ju Nanbai's arrival would be like this, but he thought that Lisa Yahomaru said that the three of them had been living together almost from the beginning of spirituality when they were young. Therefore, Lisa Yahomaru, Kunanbai and Hiyori have the best relationship. I want to come to Kunanbai and Yajumaru not to be tested as in the original book, but Hiyori could not escape the disaster, because Lisa Yajumaru and Jinanbai tried every means to avenge her, and they had no choice but to avenge Aizen's death. The hatred can be said to be that all the water from the Yellow River is poured in and cannot be washed away. When Junanbai fought and cultivated so desperately when he was breaking the world, it was also because he wanted to avenge Hiyori with his own hands, so Lu Chengkong was not surprised that Junanbai would come to him to make this request. After Yahomaru Liza found out about the relationship between the three, he already knew that such a day would come. 624-625 Eat Junanbai. Although Junanbai's talent has been fully exerted after becoming Shu, and his strength has been improved like a rocket, it is not so easy to improve after arriving at Warstard. Unless you reach the peak before death and the void break the limit, and then swallow a Scredo high-level void with such good luck as Harabel, otherwise, even if the talent is good for 100 or 200 years, don't think about it without affecting the future strength. Ascension hits the point of Scredo without the slightest sequelae. Think clearly. Junanbai nodded, pouting and looking at Lu Chengkong with serious eyes. Can I refuse? Lu Chengkong was a little speechless. Recently, his luck seems to have come back. It's really cool to fly to Yanfu, but this seems to have the effect of getting on the bus first and then making up the ticket, and it makes Lu Chengkong feel that Junan is in front of him. Bai didn't come for himself, but for the liquid he sprayed out, which made Lu Chengkong feel weird. Wow, I want to do that one, I want to become stronger. Junanbai didn't say anything, but his expression changed. There was a big drop of cold sweat on Shu's forehead. It was too good. He cried when he cried. This saga's skill is too high. Although she knew she did it on purpose, Junanbai's appearance and her temperament made people unable to feel any disgust, and even felt that it was natural for Junanbai to do it, as if people wanted to eat and drink water. Very natural. Okay, but think about it clearly, once it starts, no matter whether you regret it in your heart, whether you are happy or not, you can only belong to me, Lu Chengkong, and my wife, no one wants to get involved. You must be like this in your heart too, otherwise. Lu Chengkong put away the smile on his face, and his eyes flickered with cold light. He didn't care what others thought of him, he just wanted to be happy with his wives, but he had his own bottom line. If he violated this bottom line, even in the future Junanbai, who will become his wife, will also kill her with one knife. Of course, this is the worst plan. At the same time, he will never let this happen, so he gave Junanbai a chance. What's there to regret, isn't it about H? I heard from Sister Lisa that you are very powerful, but you were really as domineering as she said, but I like this kind of man, indecisive, no point I'm not happy with masculinity, I'll just cultivate the feelings later, anyway, I've identified you. Junanbai was not at all afraid or angry, but said with a smile, a twinkle flashed in his eyes, it was not liking or love, but simply admiring Lu Chengkong and of course grateful. After all, Lu Chengkong has many, she has been kind to her and has never thought of repaying herself, let alone talking about it. Such a man is what Junanbai wants. Maybe such a man has many shortcomings, but it is precisely because of the existence of these shortcomings that the advantages of Lu Chengkong are fully brought out, more radiant, and at the same time, it also makes people feel that Lu Chengkong is real, not illusory. The so-called perfect saint. When a woman chooses her final partner, she never wants a perfect existence like a saint. Sometimes the coexistence of shortcomings and advantages is more exciting, more attractive, and more desirable. At the same time, when you hug each other, you will feel real. It will not give a woman a sense of being held by you, but it seems to be separated by the ends of the earth. Ais Naneo was at a loss. Obviously, Junanbai's previous words and now that she had no regrets or reluctance at all made her very confused and overwhelmed. Maybe it was because she read too many books. It's a bit horny and a bit idealistic. I think it's best to choose your other half with fewer flaws, or if you can't find any flaws, but Ju Nanbai's words today are obviously not the case. The kind of words that combine practical experience and theory make Ais Naneo was unable to find any wrong place to refute. In addition, there is an example in front of her. Ju Nanbai doesn't love Lu Chengkong, not even a liking. It can only be regarded as Cheng's curiosity, affection, and gratitude, but Ju Nanbai did not deny it. I admire such a man, and if I have to choose, I will be with such a man. This lascivious, domineering man who doesn't know how to be courteous to a lady, is arrogant and has even done a lot of things for a girl, is really so attractive. But now that she thought about it, she realized that although she was still unhappy with Lu Chengkong's bad points, she really found that she had really focused all her attention on Lu Chengkong's bad points and never thought about his good points. Maybe I was a little too idealistic before. If I really don't have any shortcomings, then is it still a human being? It should be that there are no emotions and 6 desires. If there are no shortcomings, where will the advantages come from? There will be advantages. Quote. Ais Naneo seemed to understand a lot of things at once, and the whole person seemed to be a lot more mature. Obviously, there was no such thing as the original Yahomaru Liza, who fled to the world without her in a mess, so she was not alone at all. Faced with all the difficulties of life. Although she is also very mature now and independent from you, she is much more than that in the original book because of Lisa Yazumaru's departure. She has faced many difficulties in life in the Soul Society since she was a child and cultivated herself to become stronger and so on. There is still a little gap, but after thinking about it now, even if Ais Naneo is more reluctant than she is in the original book, it is even worse. I hope your thoughts can exist forever. Lu Chengkong smiled. Ju Nanbai, a girl who looked like a little girl, saw a lot more clearly than many people with her eyes, since the other party didn't regret it, although there is a suspicion of getting on the bus first and then making up the ticket, but no matter what, it is your own wish. Lu Chengkong was not Lu Shahui, of course he would not refuse. He walked over and hugged Ju Nanbai in his arms, bowed his head and kissed Ju Nanbai's very beautiful little mouth that often pouted. Ju Nanbai was really shy now, his face flushed red like a ripe red apple, and with a snort, all his strength seemed to have been drained, and he could only slump into Lu Chengkong's arms. Lu Chengkong was tasting his own fragrance. As the two bodies continued to rub against each other, the clothes kept decreasing, and they completely forgot that there was still a village of Ais Naneo directly in this hall. The body is so tightly and together there is no longer any distance. Not to mention, the appearance of Ju Nanbai, who looks similar to Feijun, is very predictable after stripping again. Although it is not as good as the other girls such as Luanju Maojawali, it is also not as good as Saifeng Yuan Yei, Kong, Ji, Ranjima, but only slightly worse than Soma Yoshino, and completely on the same level as Yahomaru Liza. However, I am no longer surprised when I think of the proud scene that Ju Nanbai showed when he was sleeping in the episodes that were about to be experimented with blurring in the original 110 years ago. Ah! Ju Nanbai cried out in pain. She was different from Saifeng Yuan Yei and the others. In bed, Ju Nanbai was very shy like an ancient girl. The quiet one just hugged Lu Chengkong and let Lu Chengkong go. Drive yourself and conquer yourself. However, it was her performance of being picked by Renjun that allowed Lu Chengkong to experience different pleasures, different stimuli, and soon the whole hall was filled with bursts of 625, 626 push Ais Naneo again. Is this really that comfortable? But putting it in so much, my God, I'm so ashamed of what I'm thinking. Ais Naneo, who was already very confused in his heart, looked at Jinnenbai, and under his amazed eyes, he was completely ashamed. Are united. In addition to the pain at the beginning, Ais Naneo watched Jinnenbai's expression change from pain at a speed visible to the naked eye to an expression of wanting to die, as if flying through the clouds and enjoying the bliss of the world. Ais Naneo, who was in an unstable state, was even more cranky. Although Naneo Ais is not the first to know about these things, she also knows a lot from Liza Yazumaru under the corpse, and she is not the first to live in Lu's residence and Lu Chengkong's house for a long time. It's the first time I've heard these blushing voices, but it's the first time I've seen it so close. Watching Lu Chengkong go in and out of Ju Nanbai's body, she rationally told her that she shouldn't look at it, but Ju Nanbai's believable moans kept coming from her ears, as if it contained infinite magic power. The extravagance that gradually filled the air made her unable to move her eyes to stare at the intersection of Lu Chengkong and Ju Nanbai. "Ah, I can't do it anymore, you can find Nanao, I'm going to sleep." Suddenly, Ju Nanbai's small mouth threw a high sentence full of extreme joy, and the happiness made Nanao's face blush. Ru Hua's demonic voice directly pouted, and habitually put his jade hand on the left jade girl peak and fell asleep immediately, and fell asleep with a satisfied, happy, satisfied smile. Obviously, the moment before she fell asleep, she clearly felt that her body had a pure and frightening spiritual power that was gradually absorbed by herself without any resistance. She believed that she had absorbed this spiritual power. If he can reach the pinnacle of Vastord, then using gloves or swallowing a member of Team Zero, one of Wang Shu's guards will be able to defeat Aizen. When he was working with Hannibal, Lu Chengkong's strength was only the pinnacle of Skrito, but now he has clearly surpassed King Shu. As for whether he has reached the realm of Wang Shu, Spirit King, besides him and Mao Zhawali no one knows, but no matter what, at this time, Lu Chengkong and Ju Nanbai are doing the same thing as Hannibal at that time. Of course, Ju Nanbai's profit is much greater than that of Hannibal at that time. After all, Lu Chengkong's strength at this time was many times stronger than that at that time, otherwise, he wouldn't have let the middle-rank Ju Nanbai of Vastad to get the peak of Worsted after he was completely absorbed. Although the first time had the greatest effect, at that time, Hannibal's strength was already at the high-level peak of Wazong Tod, and he was only one step away from reaching the peak of Waz Tod, and under such circumstances, he did it 3 times. Only then did Hannibal reach the pinnacle completely, and no matter how lucky he was to swallow up a high-level Skrito, he had such a powerful strength so quickly. But now Ju Nanbai is only a mid-level Vastad, and he can reach the peak of Vastad after doing it once. From this, it can be seen how much stronger Lu Chengkong is now than at that time. Ju Nanbai's harvest much older than Haribel at that time. "I'm going to die, what did this guy Bai say?" At this time, Nanao was completely awake. If it was normal, she would have guaranteed that Lu Chengkong would not use force against her, but now Ju Nanbai took the lead in provoking it. Lu Chengkong's lust made him unsatisfied again. In the end, she even said something as if she, Nanao Eyes, was also here to dedicate herself, and then she fell asleep deaf without any evidence, and she could say that she wanted to cry without tears, even if she wanted to deny it. If she said no, why was it just now? If she didn't leave, why did she come again? No one would believe her except for her own and Ju Nanbai's scruples. At least Lu Chengkong couldn't guarantee that he would believe it, but it was useless to think so much now. Even if he knew in his heart that he might not be able to escape today, Nanao still had to fight. "Shunpo." Nanao let out a low voice, and her figure flashed, but she was stunned and couldn't believe that she had already used Shunpo, and it was a high-level Shunpo taught by sci-fi Yuanyaiki. Although it is not as good as Lu Chengkong's, but it is also much more advanced and powerful than the Shunpo of Kurosaki Ichigo and the others in Byakuya Kuchiki's original work, but now she can't move as if her whole body is frozen. The Raya, who was controlled like her arms and fingers clasped together, no matter how hard she tried to control it, she seemed to be sinking into the sea without the slightest response. It made her depressed to the extreme. It just makes her feel strange that she clearly knows what she will face next, but in her heart there is no emotional fluctuations such as resentment, except for the depressed anger and shame. Obviously this is still due to credit Ju Nanbai's remarks before in her actual actions, plus the deep feelings Lu Chengkong and her bickering life had cultivated unknowingly over the years. After all, this is also an alternative way of cultivating feelings between them, but Nanao can't turn around, and he just doesn't want to admit it. Now that it's broken and Lu Chengkong will rush towards her, of course, he will never again. Can't deny it like it used to. Faced directly with her own heart, of course she knows the true thoughts of people's hearts, and even the last layer of membrane was pierced with the help of Ju Nanbai in secret. Although all of this can't be said to be a matter of course, it's just a little hurry to kill it. It can be seen that Is Naneo didn't hate Lu Chengkong and Ju Nanbai in his heart because he lost his body immediately. Hemtilda Is Naneo snorted. She was already held in Lu Chengkong's arms, and the strong masculine breath came out, plus the aura from what she just did with Ju Nanbai made Is Shishu's eyes were filled with water and spring, and he looked at Lu Chengkong with blurred eyes. You big pervert, are you finally going to take action against me? If you weren't as strong as what Sister Lisa said, I'd definitely squeeze, see if you dare to bother. Is Naneo was surprised to find that she would speak in such a tone that only a passionate lover would use to the person she loves, and even say things that seemed so nasty to her in the past, and actually it's so natural, it doesn't seem abrupt or out of place, but it seems very casual. Bai created such a good opportunity for me, how can I live up to her? Lu Chengkong was not embarrassed at all. Even if he was not as strong as Liu Bei and Cao Cao, he was still comparable to the thickness of the city wall. No red eyes and no jumping. Is Naneo couldn't help but glance at Lu Chengkong, but this white eye gave people a coquettish feeling, making Is Naneo, who always gave people a cold look. It seemed very charming, so Lu Chengkong couldn't hold it, and directly attacked the peach blossom spring that had been prepared for a long time. Ah, the pain is dead, can't you be too perverted here? This is the first time for me. Is Naneo's painful cry passed, the numbness and itchiness came, and then he stopped. The cloud rain started again, and it was even more violent and more intense than before. 626, 627 The Blue Dye Legion is coming. Lu Chengkong, Ju Nanbai, and Is Naneo's battle did not stop until 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. Although Lu Chengkong was not satisfied yet, in Is Naneo, the usual sexual indifference was completely opposite. Even under the counterattack of sexual fanaticism, it was sprayed once. Besides, I took 2 wonderful sexes at one time. Of course, I was embarrassed to let them go and went to Ujiwali, Luanjuyi and the others. In the end, I could only hug them with each left hand and fall asleep directly. Lu Chengkong didn't wake up until the sunlight fell on his body the next morning. He got up and took a shower. He went to the Soul World. The casual combat costumes that only he can wear. They are handsome yet convenient, simple and flexible. They are indeed the most suitable for him. It is worth mentioning that Bachenliu and Luanju are influenced by her at the same time. Put on different clothes from the dead tyrant in the Soul World. Apparently it was specially designed. Matsumoto Ranju wears conservative, yet sexy and charming, and makes people unable to see it. There is a fire in his heart. It is a bit similar to the clothes worn by women's senior and beautiful white-collar workers, but the material is very elastic and can be worn on any. There will be no discomfort even in battle. Is a combination of the advantages of women's white-collar clothes, t-shirts, shirts and other elements, but more of them are the sexy, glamorous and capable and tempting appearances of women's senior and beautiful white-collar workers. As for Bachenliu, of course, she was wearing a cute, youthful, and noble white princess dress, which made Bachenliu's delicacy and charming, exuding a noble yet approachable atmosphere. Maybe it was to cooperate with Lu Chengkong, or maybe just thinking about Cao Cao. Cao Cao will come. Lu Chengkong just remembered Matsumoto Ranju and Kusaka Yakiryu. The 2 girls really dressed in a completely different from the Soul World, full of modernity but not lost. Elegant and noble clothes appeared in front of Lu Chengkong. It seems like it's been a few days since Aizen and the others came. What are you going to do, husband? If it was just Aizen, Matsumoto Ranju would be too lazy to care about it, and it would be even more impossible to ask Lu Chengkong, but he knew the spirit from Ujiwali and Lu Chengkong. After the incident with Wangshu and Wangshu, the chaotic chrysanthemum with a very strong intuition feels that maybe this time when the blue dye comes to reality, it will lead to a lot of unknown dangers, especially after knowing Wangshu and the Spirit King. She feels more and more intense. What else can we do? Soldiers come to block the water and flood the soil. There is no need to be so nervous. If it is as dangerous as you feel, this may be a great opportunity for us. Now that you have reached the mid-level peak of Skrido, and Yi reached the peak of the primary level of Skrido, you have encountered the same bottleneck. I don't know how long it will take, but this time, if you can capture all of your strengths in one go, you should be able to greatly improve. Matsumoto Ranju's talent can be said to be defying the sky without being robbed of his spiritual power. He has always practiced steadily and steadily. He has comprehended breakthroughs and cultivated on his own. Lu Chengkong or Nelly Lu, Haribel and the others devoured high-level Scredo like that. But even so, she still has a strength that is only inferior to Nelly L, who has broken through and is now a high-level Scredo, who has swallowed a high-level Scredo. For this reason, many of Lu Chengkong's wives, even Mao Zhiwali, are splendid when they look at her. It can be said that in terms of pure aptitude and talent, she and Nelly Lu are the same as the existence of the sky. Without breaking the shackles of the original book, the achievements are limitless. Matsumoto Ranju was deprived of spiritual power, Nelly Lu received the influence of spiritual symbol power when Vastored, and now both of them have survived their own catastrophe. Lu Chengkong was not worried at all about Matsumoto Ranju's words, and even a little heartless, he directly held Matsumoto Ranju in his arms, and he was the first woman who came to the world of death to overthrow, and Matsumoto Ranju also showed afterwards. The appearance and performance of a noble woman, a virtuous woman, and a slut that can only be shown when she is doing things with herself, such a perfect temperament. After letting him not suppress his feelings anymore, Lu Chengkong also loves Matsumoto Ranju very much. In addition, being the first woman to be knocked down in the world of death, of course, he also has a special feeling. Just like in the world of One Piece, King of Pirates, no matter how much Lu Chengkong's wife is in the back, there is no woman who can shake the status of Khalifa and Hancock. Although Matsumoto Ranju in the world of death is not as good as the previous two women, but the national ash is special. The reason for the feelings is also not far away, at least it is on the same level as Ujawali and Bachinliu, only below Khalifa and Hancock. If Khalifa and Hancock are queens in Lu Chengkong's heart, then Ujawali, Matsumoto Ranju, and Bachinliu are the three ladies and three noble concubines. Of course, this is just the classification of their status in Lu Chengkong's heart. But for Lu Chengkong, none of them can be given up. This belongs to Lu Chengkong's domineering as well as the responsibility of men and his chauvinism. But Saifeng Yuan Yi is a different kind. She had an emotional relationship with Lu Chengkong earlier than Lu Anju, but it was because of a little accident that Lu Anju was ahead of her. Saifeng Yuan Yi complained many times in her heart. But it's already a fact, and Lu Chengkong treats her and Lu Anju impartially, so that the complaints in her heart have long disappeared. Anyway, for her, as long as Lu Chengkong loves her, it's enough. It is precisely because of this. Although she was robbed of the first place by Matsumoto Ranju in the world of death after the time for the toppling expired, her status is the same as that of Matsumoto Ranju, so if Lu Chengkong is the emperor, the position of the lady is destined to be only 3. If all 3 are occupied, then Saifeng Yuan Yi's position in Lu Chengkong's heart is still completely the same as that of the imperial concubine, without the slightest thought, and the same as Matsumoto Ranju and other women. And because Ujawali and Matsumoto Ranju beginning to appear, they are cultivated the day after tomorrow, not as good as Ujawali and Khalifa. The two have the kind of shocking beauty that only queens have, graceful and luxurious, and expensive. Unspeakable temperament. However, because Matsumoto Ranju was cultivated like Khalifa, and it can be said that there is a natural gap with Ujawali, so the two girls are currently helping Lu Chengkong manage the entire harem, and they take care of it really well. It's good, even better than when Khalifa and Hancock were both in the world of One Piece, King of Pirates. After all, Mao Zhiwali is indeed born to belong to this kind of queen-like woman. She can control the harem and no woman refuses to accept it. No matter where she goes, even if she covers her face or puts on an ugly face, her temperament makes her stand out from the crowd. Exist. And Matsumoto Ranju and Khalifa are only for Lu Chengkong to learn, to do, to change, to optimize, although they did a good job, but they are not innate after all. Of course, they will lose to Ujawali in terms of quantity management. Although Hancock also has the same innate graceful and luxurious, gorgeous temperament and aura like Mao Zhiwali, but maybe because she has been an empress, she is a little more aggressive than Maujawali's performance. A touch of mellowness. Therefore, Maujawali is indeed better and more suitable than her in the position of the harem controller. Otherwise Lu Chengkong would not have taken a fancy to Maujawali and even broke his original decision in the world of death for her. 627, 628 inches morning run, with Luanju. It's as easy as you said, but it would be great if it's the same as what you said. I also want to become stronger. I thought I was pretty good before, but now it doesn't seem to be enough. I don't want to hold back. But you took care of Bai and Naneo yesterday, but you didn't take good care of Luanju. I want it, come quickly. Luanju suddenly twisted like a water snake in Lu Chengkong's arms, making her already turbulent body even more turbulent, igniting the desire in Lu Chengkong's heart again. Lu Chengkong, who was originally unsatisfied in order to take care of Kunanbai and Ai's Dao, was immediately seduced by Matsumoto Ranju, the stunning cowgirl, Matsumoto Ranju, and a wolf roared under the watery eyes of Kusaka Yakion. Started the morning exercise with Matsumoto Ranju. In Lu Chengkong's words, morning exercise is healthier. Only with a blonde cow like Matsumoto Ranju, a mature and seductive stunner who is a beautiful enchantress, can Lu Chengkong be the most invigorating. Such a taste is definitely not comparable to the Daisy Birds Kunanbai and Yila Naneo last night. Especially when Matsumoto Ranju was facing herself, she didn't have the dignified and virtuous lady and martyr she used to look like. Only when she faced Lu Chengkong would she show this desire. Every time Lu Chengkong can't stop enjoying it, he can't wait to eat Matsumoto Ranju completely into his stomach. Hee, I don't know when Xiaokong did these things to Yachenliu. But my body is so small, but when I grow up, I can't be Xiaokong's shoulder. Kaolu Bachenliu thought about it, and didn't know how to choose. It can be said that Lu Chengkong's shoulders belong to her, and she did this on purpose to prevent her body from growing up, but if she didn't grow up, it seemed like doing this it's a little dangerous, it looks a little too tender on the outside. But in fact, the defensive power of Yakion Ryu's body steel skin is amazing. In addition, when she fights after Shikai, there is a circle of protection, circle of pink energy. Even if it is the same level of death or virtual to break through her defense, it is really difficult. Even if it is better than her, it will take a certain amount of effort, and who knows if Bachenliu has stronger defense capabilities. These two guys. Ujawali smelled the **** in the air when she came to the hall with a Chinese-style breakfast, plus the two people lying on the sofa with disheveled clothes, and Matsumoto Ranju after the climax of his face. He was enjoying the afterglow, with a charming atmosphere all over his body, and he looked very lazy and charming. He didn't know that the two of them should have done a morning exercise just now. Ujawali shook her head amusingly, but she didn't get angry. After all, she was a role model for the entire harem, a role model, and someone to learn from. Besides, what's so jealous? No matter how absurd things are, she and Lu Chengkong have eaten something like being slept together dozens of times. These are just trivial things. She will also have a direct love affair with Lu Chengkong, and enjoy the moisture of the rain and dew. Have breakfast. Lu Chengkong took the breakfast handed by Ujawali, gave it to Yakianu on his shoulder, and then handed it to Matsumoto Ranju. I want you to feed me, Matsumoto Ranju said in a coquettish voice, using a coquettish technique. Facing the coquettishness of Matsumoto Ranju, Lu Chengkong couldn't resist, so he took a mouthful of soy milk and pointed at Matsumoto. Ranju's little mouth kissed, while licking Matsumoto's little fragrant tongue, he passed the soy milk over. Matsumoto Ranju's face was a little red, but he did not refuse anyone who came. He opened his teeth and swallowed all the soy milk that Lu Chengkong had passed over while catering to the teasing of Lu Chengkong's tongue. The two of you came and went, and unknowingly, you have already eaten up all the large breakfasts. As for Ujawali, he walked out quietly with Bachenliu and left the environment to him. Lu Chengkong and Matsumoto Ranju are a pair of passionate men and women. On the other side of the present world, Aizen did not know why, but sent Ulquioricifer and Yami to the present world many times, destroying and attacking many times, especially the Death God Legion stationed in the present world. People carried out multiple attacks, especially the closer to the last few days of disintegration and complete unblocking, the more attacks there are. Today is the third time including this one, but this time is different from the past in that it is basically a short battle. Ulquiorra and Yami, who were going to leave, didn't seem to have any plans to retreat immediately this time. Instead, Zila fought against the gods of death in front of them. Not only that, those who appeared in the original book in order to attract the attention of the current Death God Legion and then facilitate Ulquiorra to kidnap Orihime Inoue have all appeared, but now Orihime Inoue is a healer of Uno Hanaru apprentice, plus she is Lu Chengkong's wife. Even if Aizen has the ability to reach the sky, he can't do it, let alone let Ulquiorra come, but because of this, he still has so many death gods including Wandawaith and Ulquiorra. It's a little puzzling that Yami and other broken faces that are not 10 blades come to this world to attack the Death God Legion. Damn, what is the purpose of these guys? They even sent reinforcements here. Hitsugaya Toshiro's face turned purple, seeing that in addition to Ulquiorra and Yami, there were so many more broken faces, including the 60th blade, which the original had replaced Grimjow for a while. Little devil, we are also old rivals. I am the 10th in the 10 blades, but you are the captain of the 10th division. I can let go of my hands and feet and fight with you today, so I will split it today. Let's win. Yami stared fiercely at Hitsugaya Toshiro in front of him. If it wasn't for Ulquiorra's many times for not allowing him to take action, every time he was forced to retreat as soon as he was in the mood to fight, he would have been suffocated long ago. Now, he didn't dare to get angry with Ulquiorra, so he had to vent all the stagnation in his heart on his old opponent. Forgot to mention, Yami was beaten by Lu Chengkong long ago, but because Aizen was defeated by Lu Chengkong many times, he was more cautious than the original book, because his subordinates would not practice it on himself. Aborted before the plan. So he took off a small part of their souls from some of the 10 blades he cared about, and then catalyzed a transformed broken face completely made by the power of the broken jade through the broken jade. Of course, only after the body of the broken face died. Used, and Tooth is dead. So Aizen uses the soul collected from Yami to create a new Yami, which can only be used once. After all, not every soul can be split like Stark, and a split is very painful. And his soul with the strength of Jinya Mi can only withstand one split. Otherwise, even if a new Toothme is produced or the strength of the main body's Toothme will be affected, and the produced Toothme in front of it is much stronger than the previous Toothme because it is completely catalyzed by collapsing jade. However, consciousness, wisdom, and character memory are no different from the previous Yami. After all, the soul is one body instead of splitting into an independent consciousness. Sit up in the sky, Bingrenwan. Toshiro, who has obtained the complete original Hingrenwan, and his strength has greatly improved, even if he faced Halibal in the original book, his strength is far from his current strength, so facing the 10th blade and his old rival Yami, he was not afraid at all. It's this little dragon again, it's boring, Phantom Flash. Facing the ice dragon's attack that he had been in contact with many times, Yami seemed a little bored, and a red Phantom Flash shot at it, intending to destroy the entire ice dragon at once. It's a pity that he didn't know that Hitsugaya Toshiro had been hiding his strength in order to find out the number of Yami's way a few times before, and he also knew that they would leave at any time. It was intended to show all his strength, so that even if the opponent wanted to leave, he would not be able to leave and leave Yami completely. 628-629 Tooth Secret Return Blade. This time, the ice dragon released with all his strength was not as fragile as Yami had expected, and was beaten into powder by his own flickering, not even damaged body. The powerful impact force, the frosty ice layer directly froze the teeth into an ice sculpture, and then the entire ice sculpture was rushed out and fell to the ground with a bang, causing the sky to be filled with smoke and dust at any time. Frozen, Toshiro, who has a complete source and already has enough strength to begin to bring out the true power of the strongest Zanpakuto in the ice and snow type, is so powerful. It's amazing, Yami was frozen all of a sudden. With many variables, it is already a very different world from the original world of death. Of course, the 10 blades of the Void Knight Palace are also different. Grimjow has a tile. Stod's strength was the 30th blade. But no matter whether Grimjow left now or not, Ruby was still sitting on the 60th blade. Because he didn't have the strength to compete with Grimjow's Grimjow, he sat safely on the 60th blade. The position of Aizen has not been killed, and now he is also the 60th blade of Aizen's current 10 blades. He was also very surprised to see that Yami was suddenly at a disadvantage, and put away the arrogance in his heart. It seems that these gods of death should not be underestimated. The only difference is that he doesn't know that there are still the existence of Hirako Mako and Urahara Kazuki behind the Death Army. It doesn't matter even if the current appearance of Asanjing Renji and others are defeated, and the 2 death gods behind may be Ruby's surprise. But terrified. It seems that this god of death should have hidden his strength before, Captain. Even if a kid can take the position of captain, it should not be underestimated. Calm and cautious, Ulquiorra, who would not look down on his opponent once the battle began, immediately analyzed Hitsugaya Toshiro's situation. Crescent Moon Sky Chong. Of course, Ichigo Kurosaki has also participated in the battle. He has not experienced many battles in the virtual circle as in the original book, and his strength has not improved much, but he has faced Ulquiorra many times in this world. He ended up in a fiasco with serious injuries, and even was on the verge of death many times, but Xiaoqiang's characteristics still allowed him to survive. Now he has completely used the spiritual pressure of Kurosaki Masaki, so in the pure spiritual pressure, he already has the spiritual pressure of the peak of the captain, but the real strength is far from the peak of the captain. At least in the face of Ulquiorra, even if it is virtual plus swastika, there is not much power to fight back. However, after so many battles and every time he faced Ulquiorra, he was not without gains except for Reiatsu. At least the blurring has reached the same level as the original, which can last for a relatively long period of time. Flicker in time. Mako, Isshin's son is really good. Now the unknown alien spiritual pressure in his body has been completely absorbed by him, and the progress is really fast. Urahara Kazuki said to Hirako Mako while hiding. Che, facing this guy who shed tears so many times, he can only be considered good. Look at the guy who fought with Lu Chengkong, who was not stronger than him in the beginning, but the mage he was brought down once, and there was no chance to surpass him in the future. Instead, he was pulled farther and farther, and he was far worse than Lu Chengkong. And now the alien spiritual pressure of Kurosaki Ichigo has been completely used by him, but it also shows that his strength can no longer suddenly soar as before, except for the breakthrough between life and death and epiphany. There is no way out. If you are not careful, you can't die again. Haven't you seen that he has experienced life and death many times without any breakthrough? In addition to blurring a little longer. Hirako Mako stood higher than Urahara Kazuki, and what he saw was not comparable to Urahara Kazuki. Of course, he could see it more clearly. Not to mention Lu Chengkong's evildoer, it was only Lu Chengkong's wives who were also evildoers. Or take himself and Kyukawa as an example. Kurosaki Ichigo is not as good as himself and others. None of them have tried to face an opponent and failed so many times. It may be that Ichigo Kurosaki has always had a different cause before. Mako Hirako and the others have either broken through or died in the process of life and death. There is no third party. A choice. In the past, Kurosaki Ichigo was not like this, so now Kurosaki Ichigo has experienced so many lives and deaths. Except for the long time of spiritual pressure and blurring, the real combat power has not increased much. It's really too embarrassing that there is no gain in the struggle of life and death. But it's no wonder that apart from the alien spiritual pressure body protector who has not experienced life and death alone in the past, it is that he advanced too fast, improved his strength too fast, and the foundation was too poor. Maybe this is the fairness of the world. Ichigo Kurosaki has paid too little, but he has gained a lot from the protection of his ancestors, and the gains are not proportional to the efforts. It is indeed difficult for him to improve his strength now, unless he has great power. Perseverance is willing to give up his current strength to rebuild, otherwise it will be difficult for him to make breakthroughs. Quote. Although his strength and vision are not comparable to Hiroko Mako, Urahara Kazuki's wisdom is indeed not to be underestimated. He can't see the shortcomings of Kurosaki Ichigo, but there is no way. If he does not improve so fast, old man Yamamoto will not. He cares about him, and if he doesn't improve so quickly, he may die first. Maybe the original Kurosaki Ichigo also saw the shortcomings of Ichigo Kurosaki, so he taught Ichigo Kurosaki the last crescent moon. In addition to letting him clean up Aizen, I also wanted Ichigo Kurosaki to cultivate and thoroughly solve hidden dangers. Get angry, angry beast. An angry and huge roar suddenly sounded in the ice sculpture, and then cracks appeared on the surface of the ice sculpture. With a click, the body of Yami, who had returned to the blade, has become huge, and his strength has become extremely strong. Terrifying, the hardness of the steel skin has also been greatly improved. However, no one except himself knew that besides his current return blade, he also had the ability to return to the second stage similar to Ulquiorlucifer's second stage return blade. However, that state must be very angry to change, and with the violent increase of power, the speed will not be able to keep up, which can be regarded as a big limitation. Of course, it is impossible to compete with Ulquiorlucifana when the overall strength is improved, compared with the comprehensively improved second stage return blade. This is the return of the 10 blades. What's the matter? How did his number become 0? Hitsugaya Toshiro was the first to see the 10 blades return to the blade, and he was immediately surprised when he saw the change in the number of Yami. Exhale. 629, 630 Toshiro vs Yami. Hey, I am the only one in the 10 blades whose numbers will change after returning to the blade. Don't think that the numbers of the 10 blades will be as simple as a simple ranking. My strength is the strongest among the 10 blades. There is some truth to what he said. Under the pure physical strength, he is really powerful after transforming into a monster with many legs in the second stage, not counting the speed and explosive power. It is possible to kill many of his 10 blades, so it is useless to simply have strong physical strength. There are too many factors that can determine the outcome of a battle, such as strength, speed, explosiveness, movement, unique skills, ability to improve strength, and all kinds of cards waiting. Idiot. Ulquiorlucifer waved his Zanpakudo with ease, resisting Kurosaki Ichigo's blurring plus the crescent moon after Bankai, and at the same time glanced at Yami in his spare time. Hearing his words, his heart was cold. Said. Damn, why is the gap still so big? Kurosaki Ichigo, who was wearing a mask, was very unwilling, but this unwillingness could not make his strength skyrocket. You rubbish, it seems that Aizen and I really looked down on you too much at the beginning. Can you only reach this level? Ulquiorlucifer has completely lost interest in Ichigo Kurosaki. Back then, Ichigo Kurosaki and Shiro Ichigo in his body combined together, and the spirit that radiated out surpassed him, making him feel like a god of death. It's not easy. It feels, but the observation of this time has gone through so many life and death battles of YI that this death god survived. The overall strength has not been significantly improved, that is, after reaching the strength of Grimmjow's first battle in the original book, Kurosaki Ichigo's combat effectiveness has not improved, and then it was just the last crescent moon. Not to mention that the two Ichigos have surpassed him in pure spiritual pressure, Ulquiorlucifer, but a single body of spiritual pressure can't maximize the effect of this body's spiritual pressure. It is useless at this moment. He has completely determined that Kurosaki Ichigo's potential may be very good, but it should be improved too fast and the foundation is not solid. Basically, if he continues in the current state, his lifelong achievements will be at this level. And the current 40-blade Nutra, after being taken off by Nelly Alu, he rebuilt to Achukas with anger and murderous hatred, and finally returned to the Empty Night Palace to meet Aizen, who was eager for power and revenge. He immediately agreed to the baptism of Bengyu's power, and now it is the 40th blade. The strength is similar, no, it may be slightly worse, but with this Reiatsu, it should be able to be equal. But it is too far from Vastord. Although he has also accepted the baptism of Bengyu, his strength has been greatly improved yesterday, whereas the ordinary Vastord can compare. Now, even if any Vastord has just advanced to Vastord's Daxu, it is not a broken face, nor can the Kurosaki Ichigo in front of him be able to defeat it, let alone his old-fashioned stud who has been baptized by Bengyu. Even if his future was ruined, Vastord, who has really improved his strength at present, has broken his face. Is it going to fail again? Kurosaki Ichigo felt very uncomfortable. His little setbacks made him feel discouraged. Thinking about his work in the Soul Palace of the Soul World, every time I face difficulties, I can make a breakthrough or someone can help me. But once he goes to fight alone and no one helps him, he has no way to do it. This is the pre-advanced pass, and the end of the stamina is insufficient. He has never tried to face the difficulties independently. Ichigo always wanted to replace her. With such a king, it would be a bit of a begging for him to be the mount. Okay, great, I didn't expect you to hide your strength before. If that's the case, that's great, at least you won't die after a few hits by me. After returning to the sword, Yami-Jia, who had changed in size and appearance, laughed loudly, but the anger in his eyes could burn people to death. Obviously, what he was thinking about was how to torture Hitsugaya Toshiro, and now Hitsugaya Toshiro is more than he imagined. Strong in the middle, why should he be able to torture himself for a while before he dies? HMPH, Longshanjia. Hitsugaya Toshiro snorted coldly. It seemed that he looked too high on this 10 blades, but he was so arrogant, the blade flicked, and the whole person seemed to be rushing towards Yami, slashing his soul. The blade of the knife exudes an icy cold air that pierces Toimi's heart. Here's another trick. Yami laughed, as if mocking Hitsugaya Toshiro's ignorance, but the movements in his hands were very agile, and now he is only in the state of returning to the blade, and he has not entered the second stage of transformation. In a demon state with more than 10 feet, his strength and speed coexist. With one punch, a sharp roar that ripped through the air immediately exploded. Facing Hitsugaya Toshiro's blade, he just punched it. Boom! The swords and fists collided, and the two forces collided fiercely in midair, and layers of air waves rolled out, with waves of ripples constantly rippling around. What? Hitsugaya Toshiro's pupils shrank, and Yami actually blocked his dragon rack with his body. Not only that, but the powerful force spread to him through Binglunwan, as if it would smash his internal organs. The dislocation is generally, the whole person is blasted out. Looking around, I found that although Yami's huge fist had formed into icicles, the ice block that he had intended to break into did not appear at all. The icicles on the arms have disappeared. After returning to the blade, I didn't have the strength before returning to the blade, but I was 10 times stronger than before. I want to hurt my uncle's steel skin with the current mud. It's stupid. Yami said disdainfully, as if he was very confident in his own strength and steel skin. At the same time, he stepped on his feet suddenly, and the earth immediately shattered. In this state, Yami's speed completely kept up with his body, and he did not receive the slightest bit of damage. Influence. Immediately, he came to the front of Toshiro, and the iron fist that looked like a hilt to Hitsugaya Toshiro directly hit Hitsugaya Toshiro's body, and even the man and the knife slammed into the ground. Click. Countless cracks appeared in the earth immediately, and the smoke and dust of the gravel shot out of the sky immediately, and a deep hole was punched out by the teeth on the ground. Are you dead, Captain of the 10th Division? Yami shouted. Apparently his arrogance reappeared after gaining the upper hand. 630-631 Ice Wheel Pill vs Furious Beast. Wanjia Big Gurren Ice Wheel Pill. A cold shout floated out from the underside of Yami's fist, and at the same time, countless ice blocks suddenly appeared on the ground, extending in all directions at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, a pair of huge ice blocks was completely ice. Block S wings appeared in front of Yami's fist and completely blocked Yami's fist, so he could no longer move forward. Wow, this is the real strongest Zanpakuto of the ice and snow type. Under the complete source, Wanwan immediately changes the surrounding environment of the heaven and earth. Previously, Hitsugaya Toshiro's ice Rinwan had only 2/3 of the source. It can't be compared to now at all. Hirako Mako saw that the surrounding environment began to change, and it became a cold world and couldn't help saying. This broken face called Yami, "It's over." Urahara Kazuki said with a smile, but the pair of eyes under the hat flashed a bit of light. Obviously he was also affected by the power of the ice wheel pill under the complete source. Surprised. Millennium Ice Prison. Hitsugaya Toshiro's pair of ice wings suddenly opened, and the force that burst out in an instant actually bounced off Yami's fist, and at the same time, the moisture in the atmosphere immediately moved closer to Yami, which formed in the blink of an eye. Countless thick, long, huge icicles froze Yami's entire body. This god of death is so powerful, it should be the strongest Zanpakuto of the ice and snow type, that Aizen-sama said, but it's strange, the power displayed by this god of death seems to be different from what Aizen-sama said. It is obviously much stronger. Saw the power of the great Gurren Harinmaru, who had no time limit after Bankai, and shouted in surprise, and immediately became puzzled. At that time, how did Aizen know that Hitsugaya Toshiro's Zanpakuto was only 2/3 of the origin? Now Hitsugaya Toshiro's strength is not only much stronger than at that time, but also has the full power of Hingrenmaru, Zanpakuto and Shinigami. Fanya Toshiro and Aizen were comparable when they were at one stop. "Damn, you stinky boy." Just when everyone thought that Yami was basically finished, Yami's incomparably angry voice came from the huge ice prison formed by countless icicles. Suddenly, Yami's body kept getting bigger, bigger than before, and his appearance became hideous, like a centipede with many legs. Obviously he entered the need for a long time by eating, sleeping and other resting behaviors. A second stage transformation state that can only be displayed by storing power. Is it still possible to transform? Isn't the broken face only one returning blade? Hitsugaya Toshiro said in surprise and puzzled. Each broken face has a special ability that belongs to them. The stronger the broken face, the stronger their special ability will be. This should be his special ability. Madaragi, who had stayed by Kenpachi's side for a long time, could of course know some unfamiliar secrets from Lu Chengkong. When his commentary entered the ears of every death god present, everyone suddenly realized. "You dare to be distracted and talk while fighting with me. You are really courting death." Ruby, who had already returned to the blade, faced Madarame, a Yasugawa Yukino, a Sanjing Renji, Hisagi Shuhei. Death has the upper hand. Seeing that Madaramu dared to be distracted, he immediately shot out a tentacle like a tail to bind Madaramu, like a python wrapping its prey. Death to Lao Su. Yami, whose whole head has been flooded with anger, no longer has the slightest scruples. In his opinion, after returning to the sword, this god of death is not tormented by himself, but now not only is not the case, but in so many in front of the broken face, he seemed to be defeated by a move, and he was furious when he thought of being ridiculed by Ruby in the future. A thick laser-like ray of red phantom pierced the air, splashed a circle of ripples, and shot directly at Hitsugaya Toshiro's body, and Yami didn't seem to be able to relieve his hatred, and was shot. After Hitsugaya Toshiro, he actually released a series of false bullets with both hands, constantly bombing Hitsugaya Toshiro's body. "Oh, I've angered Yami, and now your Captain Death is miserable." Ruby seemed to be thinking of Hitsugaya Toshiro, but in fact, this was not gloating. It's a pity that everyone except Urahara Kazuki and Heiko Mako are now in trouble. A god of death was entangled, and no one could help Hitsugaya Toshiro. The ice dragon's tail is absolutely empty. At this moment, the voice of Hitsugaya Toshiro came from the thick fog. A huge ice slash appeared out of thin air, and it suddenly slashed above the virtual flash. As the direction pointed by Hitsugaya Toshiro's blade continued to freeze and extend, even the phantom flashes of Fang Mi were frozen. Even a phantom flash can be frozen. Ulquiorra couldn't sit still. The Zanpakuto swiveled, blocking the black crescent moon of Ichigo Kurosaki, and at the same time stretched out his left hand towards Ichigo Kurosaki. A green flash on his face blasted Kurosaki Ichigo into a building, and then immediately rushed towards Tomi. Before Aizen came, he did not allow any lack of 10 blades. As for the other rubbish, he couldn't control that much. Those were not sent by Aizen to consume the power of the god of death. Just use a piece of rubbish and only know how to destroy it. Killian used Bengyu to catalyze it, and it was Aizen's task to save the 10 blades. I want to save him. It's too late, the sky is coming. Hitsugaya Tushiro smiled. It was the smile of victory. If he faced Ulquiorra and Yami alone, he was absolutely sure to win. At the same time, it is too late for Ulquiorra to save him. Although he can't do 1-on-2, he can still block Ulquiorra for a while. Take me and solve the strongest move. 10 blades, 100 blossoms in the ice sky. The ice wings behind Hitsugaya Toshiro immediately melted and turned into a blue light that shot into the sky, directly controlling the weather in the sky. When he used it, it was handy. It's not at all that he didn't have the confidence to control Harinmaru as he did when he fought Haribel in the original book. Now, although he can't say that he can use the power of Harinmaru, the strongest Zanpakuto in the ice and snow type, to 100%, he can play a role. He still achieved about 70% of the power. The sky was filled with dark clouds, and countless ice flowers that exuded an icy aura like withered snowflakes fell out of thin air, and the huge tooth Mi was taken care of, and his body was so big that it was difficult to dodge. 632 Ice Sky 100 Flowers Burial. Ulquiorra, who was running towards Yami, was also taken care of by Hitsugaya Toshiro, and the ice flowers kept drifting towards him. Although they could not cause him any harm, they stopped him for a while. Wouldn't let him save Yami, but it was enough. Yami's huge body has quietly opened more than 100 ice flowers, and these more than 100 ice flowers really indicate that the enemy's life will come to an end. It's no joke. The ice pill in the original book may be a bit exaggerated, after all, it is not a complete source, and there is a big lack, but now with the strength of Heben Tushiro far exceeding the original book and the ice wheel blade of the complete source, the Tianxiangyu Forest, Ice Tien Baihua's burial is worthy of the name without exaggeration. Ice block, which had only frozen a small part of Yami's body after that tiny ice flower bloomed on Yami's body, opened with 100 ice flowers. At the same time as he came out, Yami's entire body was completely frozen in an instant, almost in the blink of an eye. The original Halibal also took this trick, but at that time Toshiro didn't master it well, and the power was far from being comparable to the current ice wheel blade, and Halibal, who was in control of water, obviously had a backup trick, even if she can get out of trouble without Wandawise. Because after Halibal was rescued by Wandawise, her expression didn't change at all when she came out of the burial of ice and 100 flowers, it was obvious that she was not afraid of this trick. But Yami is not Halibal, her strength is not as strong as Halibal, and she is facing the even more powerful Hinglun Maru, and 100 flowers are still bloomed. I'm not dead yet. Ulquiorra was a little disappointed when he saw that Yami was completely frozen, maybe because he failed to complete the task, or maybe because of Yami's death. But just as he was about to take Ruby, Wandawise, and the frozen Yami back to the virtual circle to see if Aizen could solve Yami, he clearly felt that there was still a trace of life deep in Yami's body. The breath, although very weak, will be extinguished at any time. If you don't ask for help, if you continue to freeze, it may take a while to completely die, so Ulquiorra immediately uses his real skills. Block it, Black-Winged Demon. Seeing Ichigo Kurosaki and Toshiro Hitsugaya attacking him at the same time, Ulquiorra did not have the slightest fear, but Ichigo Kurosaki completely ignored him. As long as he paid attention to the Hitsugaya Toshiro's Zanpakuto is just fine. Boom. A loneliness, it could even be said to be dead gray, the reiatsu of a hollow feeling radiated from Ulquiorra body. Black raindrops fell from the sky, and Ulquiorra posture after returning to the blade turned into a pair of large black wings that could cover the sky, wearing a white one-piece robe, a double-horned helmet, and black nails. It has become a long claw, and it seems that the hair has become longer, and the tear marks are also deepened and thickened. The weapon he is holding is a lightsaber-like object made with a spiritual child, which is the thunder gun with amazing power. It's not easy to break the face. Hitsugaya Toshiro and Kurosaki Ichigo may not win if they join forces. Urahara Kazuki couldn't help sighing after seeing Ulquiorrax's powerful momentum after returning to the blade. He didn't lie. The ability of the original Kurosaki Ichigo to defeat Ulquiorra Lasifa is completely to draw out the power of Shiro Ichigo. As a mount, Shiro Ichigo handed over all the power to Kurosaki Ichigo, the god of death of Kurosaki Ichigo himself. The power is fully integrated. However, this power is obviously not something that Ichigo Kurosaki can control. It was given to Ichigo Kurosaki purely so that Ichigo would not be killed and implicate him. Therefore, Ichigo Kurosaki, who cannot control such a huge power, can only run away, in addition to retaining a little sense of protection, is simply venting this power. It can be said that Ichigo Kurosaki is in a state where all the power of Shiro Igo is completely blurred. Even if it is compared to the current Urahara Kazuki, the strength is only one step behind. The same means that even if his strength in the state of Niatou Ichigo is compared to not using Benyu, the Aizenri Yusuke who just left the Soul Realm is only one step worse. Of course, it is still far from being able to use Benyu. The Indigo Dye after Jade is comparable. High-level Worsted, although it has been catalyzed by Benyu, it is not comparable to the strength of the real high-ranking Worsted, but it is indeed not comparable to them. Hirako Mako nodded in agreement, and at the same time, when he looked at Ulquiorra Lasifa, his eyes flashed a pity. Obviously he felt that Ulquiorra Lasifa's future was ruined after using Benyu. Unfortunately, at the same time, he admired Lu Chenggong very much. To actually allow Ju Nanbai to improve her strength so quickly without affecting her future achievements, it's a pity that there is a reason why Ju Nanbai has improved so happily. God is fair, and Ju Nanbai paid nothing. But Lu Chenggong sacrificed his spiritual power to give to Ju Nanbai. It can be said that Lu Chenggong took the place of Ju Nanbai. After all, with Lu Chenggong's strength now reaching the level of Wang Shu, Spirit King, it is certainly not difficult to improve Ju Nanbai, who is as strong as Stod, without any sequelae and without affecting future development. A little bit of spiritual power is just a drop in the bucket for the current Lu Chenggong, and it won't take long to make up for it. Therefore, if Lu Chenggong seems to have lost a lot to others, in fact, it is nothing to Lu Chenggong, but it is also a sacrifice. If compared with the same strength, what Lu Chenggong has paid, for any Vasto a German-level Daxu has to pay a lot in order to become stronger. This is the advantage of being strong. When he has reached the peak of the world, he doesn't need to pay a lot to help those who are far away from him. Although it looks like a lot to others, it is nothing to Lu Chenggong. What? Just like the saints in mythical novels, it takes no effort at all to turn a mortal into an immortal who moves mountains and seas and chases the stars and the moon with a wave of hands. Of course, the current Lu Chenggong can't be compared with those saints, it's just a metaphor. Let's take Wang Shu's side with so many Wang Shu guards. At this point, Wang Shu has helped a lot. 632, 633 Grimjow spoiler. This spiritual pressure, it's so powerful. In addition to Lu Chenggong and his wives, there are also the gods of death, Zaraki Kenpachi, Yamamoto Kaoru, Kuchiki Jinling, Hirako Mako, Kuchiki Hibiki, who were killed in the Soul Realm. He waits for the god of death. Besides, this is the first time I have seen a Reiatsu with Daxu so powerful. Ishida Yulong was shocked to see the green spiritual pressure that Ulquiorra exuded, as well as the thunder spear in his hand. Even if he just glanced at it, there was a creepy feeling. It was only when he was aimed at his father's bow and arrow that he had this feeling, and of course Ulquiorra's feeling was far less than that of Ishida Yuzo. This is Vastid's big mistake, so terrifying. Chadu Taihu couldn't see the difference between Kurosaki Ichigo and Ulquiorra, but he couldn't help it either. Although he has awakened the power of both hands now, it is useless to awaken the huge right arm and the demon's left arm. With his current strength, he cannot participate at all. If nothing else, even Ichuka's, who is at the back of the 10 blades, is useless. It's not something he can beat. The gun of thunder. Ulquiorra's fire was obviously moved, and the shot was no longer as tepid as before, but became extremely savage, and the spirits in his hands were crystal clear, like a lightsaber. The javelin suddenly threw at Kurosaki Ichigo and Hitsugaya Toshiro. Brush. As the best at long-range attack as a Quincy, Ishida Yulong's pupils shrank a little. Too fast, the javelin's volley speed is far from being comparable to his current fastest arrow, and this is obviously not the opponent's strength. But the long-range attack, and in terms of firing speed, the Quincy prides itself on. But compare what you are best at and what you are most talented with others who are not the most talented, but you find that the strengths you are proud of are far from being comparable to the weaknesses of others. Bang! The pressure of Kurosaki Ichigo and Hitsugaya Toshiro, who are the parties, is even greater. The two almost instinctively dodge to the left and right to the right. Fortunately, this move seems to be unfamiliar and difficult to control. The first shot went wrong, but even though Ichigo Kurosaki and Toshiro Hitsugaya, who had been rubbed a little on their shoulders, were taken away and knocked over several houses. Did the shot miss? It's really hard to grasp, but it won't miss the second time. Ulquiorra once again condensed a thunder gun. Just when he was about to project the closer Ichigo Kurosaki again, and at the same time when Kazuki Urahara was about to save Ichigo Kurosaki, a rebellious and warlike joking voice suddenly appeared. There was an explosion in the air. Ulquiorra, I haven't seen you for a while, don't you just bully some garbage? Void flash. A red flash came along with this voice, making Ulquiorra had to stop the projection of Kurosaki Ichigo, and stretched out a finger to release a green phantom that collided with the oncoming red phantom in the sky. After an explosion, it might be the forces almost cancel each other out. Grimjow, I remember your mount, Liu Chengkong. Didn't you go back to Liu Chengkong's side? Are you trying to save them? Ulquiorra did not attack Kurosaki Ichigo again, but used the Thunder Spear to break the ice block on Yami's body, and at the same time threw Yami, who had been released from the blade, to Ruby, signaling him to go back first virtual circle. Of course, the latter also knew that the next battle of Vastord was not something he, a little Achukas, could participate in, so he was very clever and directly opened the black cavity and took Wandawise and the dying Yami back to the virtual night palace. Che, the only one who can command me is Liu Chengkong. As for these guys, are they worth my rescue? I came here because I heard the news of your coming to this world in the Soul realm. I used to want to part with you in the Zai Palace. It's a pity that there has been no chance. Isn't it better now? You chose Aizen, and I chose Liu Chengkong. There is no need to compare the masters between us. Aizen's use of Bengyu is completely useless. I can't compare with my master Liu Chengkong, so let us both decide the winner and loser, and see which one of us has a better vision. Grimjow didn't lie. He also didn't miss any opportunity and time to exercise and improve his strength when he broke the world. Especially after Jininbai arrived at Vastord, he often fought with Jininbai. Before that they are all facing Liu Chengkong. Although every time he was beaten all over his body and even nearly died, Grimjow was not only not angry or discouraged, but he was more attentive and fanatical in each battle. Enjoy the existence of eagerness to fight, because although he is not as fast as Liu Chengkong's wife and others, but he chose to believe in his own efforts and the strength of his own hands, but his strength was climbing unknowingly. After knowing that Ulquiorra used the Bengyu to ruin his future, instead of being happy, he was very angry. And angry. In his opinion, Ulquiorra is his current competitor, and he actually chooses to use such a rubbish method to improve his strength, and such a big virtual is his opponent, which makes him feel very uncomfortable, as if it was like he saw the wrong person, so this time he came here to make a break with Ulquiorra. Boring. There was a flash of brilliance in Ulquiorra eyes. In the original book, Grimjow was just a little Achukas in his eyes, so for his provocation Ulquiorra chose to ignore it, but now Grimjow's strength is definitely not worse than his own, and even this is already in the case of using Bengyu, but Grimjow did not use it. He still remembered Grimjow's high-spirited appearance when he rejected Aizen, with a strong disdain for Bengyu and confidence in himself. So although the two sides often competed, it was not a kind of difference. Ulquiorra still remembered that when he agreed to accept the baptism of Bengyu, he clearly saw Grimjow looking at him with a hint of sadness in addition to disappointment. It made Ulquiorra, who never knew what the heart was, feel a little throbbing, so the relationship between the two of them is also very special, and it can be regarded as a kind of basic love. It doesn't matter if it's boring or not, what matters is that we can finally play a game today without any scruples. 633, 634 Ulquiorra's shock. Grimjow was someone who didn't take any advantage of his opponent, and he was very happy to see that Ulquiorra had just returned to the blade and had not spent the slightest bit. At his peak, Ulquiorra was the one he wanted to fight. Grimjow admitted that there were many better than him, and he also admitted that his master and the mistresses were improving their strength too fast. But he will never be discouraged. The silent follower Lu Chengkong keeps getting stronger behind him, defeating a stronger opponent and getting stronger. He believes that as long as he works hard, he will be able to follow his king forever as a mount. Ulquiorra is one of those beings who will be defeated by himself. Otherwise, as a mount, it can't enhance the king's strength and remove all obstacles for the king. Then he has no value, so Grimjow's desire and enjoyment of battle is more than the original. Have you reached the high level of Wastad? Ulquiorra looked at Grimjow, his face changed slightly. How long has passed? And when he left the Void Knight Palace, Grimjow's strength was only Washi's. Todd's elementary, and now he has reached the Vastord Advanced. Not only that, but he couldn't feel any clutter from Grimjow's spiritual pressure. Although he is also a high-rank Vastord now, after all, he was forcibly promoted with Bengyu catalysis. In addition, he received Bengyu's power. The influence of his spiritual pressure is very mixed. That is to say, there is no stability and purity of Grimjow, and one was tempered by himself from life and death to become stronger, and the other was catalyzed by collapsing jade. Although they are both high-level Vastord, as long as they are not idiots can know the difference. Back when Grimjow was still at the beginning level of Wallstatt, he was able to fight against him when he was a senior level of Wallstatt. Although he couldn't win, he didn't necessarily lose. It can be seen that he made a breakthrough and cultivated in the process of life and death. How much stronger as compared with Bengyu? Only the beginners can fight against the high-level ones, and the high-level ones don't dare to say that they can beat the beginners. But now that Grimjow is a high-level Warstard like him, it does not mean that he will lose, and it is precisely because the original Ulquiorra is a high-level Warstard, but facing the Taurus Ichigo will lose so badly not because the high-level Vastord is too weak, but because Ulquiorra is not a real high-level Vastord at all. Compared with the real high-level Vastord strength, although Ulquiorra's level is high-level Vastord, his real strength can be cultivated with standard breakthroughs in life and death like Grimjow. As far as the Vastord is concerned, Ulquiorra's actual combat power is even stronger than that of the intermediate Vastord. There is still a big gap from the strength of the real high-level Vasto, so in the face of having the ability to be only one step away from the peak of Vasto, compared to Kazuki Urahara, the peak strength of the God of Death is only one step behind the fusion of Shiro Ichigo. All the strength of the Taurus Ichigo will be such a fiasco. But if Taurus Ichigo and the current Grimjow fight against each other, at most, it will be evenly divided. After all, who are the people that Grimjow usually fights with? Even if the level is a little worse than that of Taurus Ichigo, after all, Grimjow is only a high-level Warstard, and Taurus Ichigo is a high-level peak of Wastad, and he is only one step away from reaching the true peak of Wastad. But Grimjow's weakest duel was the existence of Scrito. Therefore, Grimjow made up for this gap in level with his own fighting talent and awareness. Moreover, Grimjow's Reiatsu was guided by Lu Chengkong, even if it was compared to Vasto at the same level. Virtue is also much purer, so Grimjow may not necessarily be defeated in the face of Ichigo, Benkai plus completely blurred state, who is one level higher than him. In the virtual circle, I found a big virtual who spent a lot of time finding two middle-level Vastords and fought with them. After defeating them and swallowing them, he finally reached the high-level Vastords. Grimjow didn't hide it either, but instead smiled and shared his recent situation. Impossible, after reaching Vastord, unless you devour a void that is several levels or even a stage of strength far beyond your own. Otherwise, just swallowing the same level, or the Daxu that is one level stronger than yourself, may not have much effect. The biggest is to temper the spiritual pressure and steel skin. To make breakthroughs other than the potential between life and death beyond outbursts and comprehension, unless. Ulquiorra shook his head and said incredulously, but he seemed to have understood something after that, and looked at Grimjow with stunned eyes. You guessed it well, the symbol of my spiritual power has been controlled for a long time, and what is missing now is only the spiritual power that allows him to break through the shackles and make my spiritual pressure qualitatively change, so I defeated 2 Vastord intermediates. After the Great Void, I reached the Vastord Advanced. Grimjow said slightly proudly, after all, controlling the symbol of spiritual power is easier said than done, but it is very difficult to do. Worstard, who is not affected by the power of spiritual symbols, also has a lot to do, such as Stark, but if he controls it, there are not many great things to do. In addition to comprehending death and completely taking off the mask, the more important and most important thing is to control the symbol of spiritual power in order to open the way to Scrito. Only by meeting this requirement can you devour those who are stronger than yourself or be the same as yourself. The big virtual talent of the level is expected to advance to Scrito. Hannibal and Nellialu have also achieved it, otherwise, even if they swallow the high-level Scrito breakthrough, they will not be able to control the power in their bodies, and they will even be forced to burst their bodies and die if they fail to break through. Now that Grimjow said this means that he was already better than Blue and surpassed that he had always regarded him as his apprentice Stark. Stark and Grimjow are also living in the corpse world now. But because they are men, and Grimjow often fights with Stark, it will not stop when the battle is dead. So Lu Chengkong built a mansion for them next to Lu Mansion. The 2 of them, together with Peishui Kadixi and Donshaka Bilstein, can live together. When they are bored, they can come to Lu Mansion to eat. Stark doesn't value his own strength as much as Grimjow and other Shu, and it's enough to protect himself, and Lu Chengkong doesn't need him to do anything at all. On the contrary, he made a lot of friends in the soul world, such as Shiro Yukitaki and Kyoraku Chunsui are very good friends. 634-635 Grimjow vs. Blackwing. Therefore, Stark is very happy and satisfied with his actions of following Lu Chengkong. His biggest wish is not to be the strongest, but not to be alone. Now Lu Chengkong has indeed fulfilled his promise to him. Really no longer alone. However, although he did not value his own strength very much, he felt that he owed Lu Chengkong a great deal of gratitude, so he chose Grimjow as his disciple and did not spare no effort in training him when he was weak. He just hoped that Grimjow, who was extremely belligerent, Lu Chengkong's mount, and his friend, could repay Lu Chengkong's kindness instead of him, so Grimjow could grow up so fast, but it was thanks to Stark, a good teacher. Well, Ulquiorra, when did you become such a jerk? Don't worry, I won't take any advantage of you. Grimjow got a little impatient, and drew out his Zanpakuto and rushed directly to Ulquiorra, who had already returned to the blade. Obviously, he had the style of Zaraki Kenpachi. Shifa regards him as an opponent he recognizes, so he respects him. Unexpectedly, he didn't use the return blade, and directly fought with Ulquiorra, the big ghost of the return blade, in the state of not returning the blade, just didn't want to bully him with his strength stronger than him. Ulquiorra clearly understood Grimjow's character very well, and was not annoyed by what he did. There was a flash of emotion in his eyes. He didn't know that Grimjow respected himself completely by doing so. For the first time in the world, he put aside all thoughts of what mission to do, and fought with Grimjow with all his might. Grimjow respected him so much, so would he want to disappoint the man who had always regarded himself as an opponent? Virtual Flash. The 2 shouted at the same time, one holding a knife in the right hand and a gun in the right, but both of their left hands were facing each other at the same time, shooting a virtual flash, and the air around the place where the virtual flash passed was one stagnation. The rolling waves formed by the nearby air rushed to the surroundings. Boom! 2 phantom flashes of different colors confronted each other again above Kakuzako in the present world. Grimjow really did not take advantage of Ulquiorra. He clearly had absolute power in the face of Ulquiorra, but instead of releasing this power to defeat Ulquiorra in one fell swoop, he used the same power as the current Ulquiorra Lasifa to fight against it. This is not Grimjow's stupidity. On the contrary, as a leopard, how could he show mercy to the enemy? But the relationship between him and Ulquiorra Lasifa is more complicated. It belongs to the kind of sympathy. He believes that he uses the same power can also beat Ulquiorra Lasifa. This is his confidence in Grimjow. And if Ulquiorra Lasifa really dared to oppose Lu Chengkong at that time, then Grimjow would definitely immediately cast a thunderbolt to destroy Ulquiorra Lasifa. But now Ulquiorra Lasifa obviously, he did not directly become an enemy of Lu Chengkong nor violated Lu Chengkong's interests. In addition, he has already asked Lu Chengkong for this battle, and he has obtained approval from Lu Chengkong to allow him to do it in the way he likes. Therefore, in this battle, Grimjow can do whatever he wants without any scruples. No one to be able to interfere. It was a battle that belonged to him and Ulquiorra Lasifa. There's a good show to watch now. It's also a high-rank Vastord in terms of rank, but there is a big gap in strength. Look at Kazuki. That winged Daxu was cultivated with your Bengyu, while Grimjow is Lu Chengkong's mount. Seeing the Daxu cultivated by his own Bengyu was defeated by a Daxu of the same level is not good. Taste it, and Grimjow deliberately controlled his power to be on the same level as the opponent. Hirako Mako deliberately provoked Urahara Kazuki, but unfortunately Urahara Kazuki ignored it. Instead, he watched the battle between the two big virtuals with great interest, which made Hirako Mako feel like he was hitting the air hard and was very depressed. It's him, Ichigo Kurosaki, who was carried back by Taihu Chadu, exclaimed when he saw Grimjow who was fighting with Ulquiorra Lasifa. But he was almost killed by him, but he didn't expect Grimjow to be so powerful back then, and it seemed that Grimjow was much bigger now than when they first met. He also guessed correctly. The first time I met him, Grimjow's strength was only the first level Vastord. Later, he went to the boundary and went to the virtual circle to fight. After meeting Grimjow again, his strength was already high-level Vastord. Even if he completely uses the power of Shiro Ichigo, Benkai Plus, completely incarnates into a bull-headed Ichigo Grimjow, he will not lose to him. What's more, Kurosaki Ichigo doesn't even know what Niato Ichigo is, and even if he does, it's not something he can change. The power is handed over to him, but that kind of situation is basically only possible when it endangers Shiro Ichigo himself. The new emptiness is very strong, much stronger than the great emptiness called Ulquiorra Lasifa. I feel as if he is deliberately suppressing his own strength. Seeing that Ulquiorra Lasifa has already returned to the blade, but he didn't, and it seemed like he still had some power left in the situation. Following Ishida Longxian for a period of time, Ishida Yulong's vision has obviously improved, at least he really judged it correctly. The Spear of Thunder. Ulquiorra Lasifa didn't feel annoyed or impatient when he saw that his phantom flash didn't work. He threw the Spear of Thunder very calmly. Grimjow didn't dare to return to the blade to pick it up empty-handed. After all, now he is deliberately suppressing the power and using the power that is on par with Ulquiorra Lasifa. Of course, it is impossible to pick up the Thunder Spear with the same level of power. After all, the power of this thing is really not ordinary. Wang Shu's Flash. Grimjow was also not to be outdone. Instead of dodging by relying on his own body to be a leopard, the speed of which was much faster than that of the same level of Daxu. The sphere of light exploded directly at the oncoming Thunder Spirit Spear at the moment of condensing and forming. The collision of the two is like a thunder and fire, and a direct explosion of distance is emitted. The terrifying fluctuation of spiritual power is emitted in the center of the explosion, making the nearby buildings seem to be destroyed by the strong wind formed by the aftermath of the explosion of spiritual power. A wolf scene, dazzling green light and blue light in the sky like a big ball of light shone over the entire Kakuzucho. 635, 636 Ulquiorra's request. After the Thunder Spear and Wang Shu's Flash didn't work, neither Grimjow nor Ulquiorra Lasifa was using these ranged attacks, but used the melee, Zanpakudo, which is the best and favorite of Daxu. And the gun of thunder constantly clashed in midair, criss-crossing. With the high-speed movement and attack speed of the two, the shadow of the sword and the gun produced countless shadows, and the rumbling sound continued to sound in many places. It was really fast and overwhelmed. do not admit that this is a very exciting or even a lifetime battle for them now. I have returned to the blade now. Back then, when Lu Chengkong said that I could return to the blade in the second rank, then Grimjiao, who was the mount at the time, should have known it too, so there is nothing to hide. Ulquiorra saw that Grimjiao had never improved his strength from beginning to end, and was fighting himself with the same strength as himself, but what surprised Ulquiorra was that at first evenly divided, but it didn't take long for Grimjiao to slowly suppress himself step by step while using the same power. Second stage return to the blade. Ulquiorra made a decision in his heart and immediately implemented it. The green Reiatsu began to overflow again, and at the same time began to rise steadily. Not only that, but his appearance also began to happen. After the change, the green spiritual pressure has been raised to the point where it can no longer be increased. After the green spiritual pressure wrapped around Ulquiorra dissipated, it also revealed the appearance of Ulquiorra after returning to the second stage. Clothes on the upper body disappeared, green liquid flowed from the eyes, the lower half of the tear marks were too, the whites of the eyes turned green, the pupils were similar to the pupils when the mask was blurred, and the abdomen to the legs, as well as the arms and back were covered with black feathers, robes the rear part is in two halves with the wings fully open. There the bat's claws. The horns on the helmet become longer and sharper upward, and a long tail that can be freely manipulated grows. There is a bony object similar to a knife on the tip of the tail, and sharp claws on the feet. Unlike Yami's second stage transformation, Ulquiorra second stage return blade is like Bankai, the god of death, improving in all directions, rather than improving one place and weakening another. Is this your second rank return blade? This should be your special ability, right? But I don't think you, Ulquiorra, know about my Grimjiao's ability. Grimjiao looked at Ulquiorra, who had become stronger after the second stage, with interest, and said, "What? Ulquiorra is not an idiot. Of course, he knows that when his strength reaches a certain level, he will have some special abilities that others can't have. Of course, this requires a certain amount of talent, and not everything can be possessed. For example, when he reached Achukas, he got the Black Void Flash. When he was in Vastord, he got the Thunder Spirit Spear and second stage return. However, the original Grimjiao was catalyzed by Bengyu when he was in Achukas, and of course he only got the ability of the Leopard King's Claw obtained in the Achukas stage. Of course, the special ability that can only be obtained when you reach Vastord has not been obtained, but it is different now. Grimjiao is a genuine, authentic high-level Vastor, which is a guarantee of quality. Ulquiorra has, and of course he has his own special abilities. If you want to see it, use your strength to force my ability out." Grimjiao smiled, and rushed towards Ulquiorra again, with speed and strength following Ulquiorra. After returning to the blade, he improved as much as he got, and his overall strength was once again equal to that of Ulquiorra. Black Phantom Flashes. Ulquiorra quickly put away the mood swings just now. After all, this is not something to be surprised by. Balagang has the aura of death, and Halibal has the ability to control water and high temperature. The ability of low temperature. Stark has infinite phantom, so it is not surprising that Grimjiao, who has reached the high-level Vastord, has his own unique ability. He was just curious about what Grimjiao got. Ability. Wang Shu's Flash. I deliberately wanted to try Ulquiorra Black Void to see which of the Wang Shu's Flash released under the same strength, which of the stronger Grimjiao was after releasing Wang Shu's Flash. Seriously staring at the collision of the two virtual flashes. The result was exactly as he had guessed. The ability Ulquiorra got in the Achukas stage was broken up by Ulquiorra's Black Void Flash after a stalemate for a second, just like the original Taurus Ichigo used the Flame Phantom to disperse the Black Phantom of Ulquiorra. In Lu Chengkong's opinion, the power of Black Void Flash and Flame Void Flash are on the same level, and both are one level higher than Wang Shu's Flash. The reason why the original Taurus Ichigo uses the Flame Phantom to disperse the Black Phantom so easily is entirely the reason why his strength is much better than that of Ulquiorra, just like a normal Phantom used by a Vastord. You can easily hit the flash of Wang Shu that Achukas used. Sure enough, It is more powerful than Wang Shu's flash, and it is not indecent to come and go, the claws of the Leopard King. After being by Lu Chengkong's side for so long, of course, he also learned some classic words from the Z country. Not returning to the blade in this state, Grimjow actually spread his hands wide, staring at the black void that Ulquiorra fired at him again like a leopard king who saw his prey about to hunt, and his hands suddenly claws at the black void in front of him. In the original book, the claws of the Leopard King can only be used in the state of returning to the blade. Now Grimjow can actually use it without returning to the blade. Like a phantom flash, the high-density spiritual pressure has formed 10 huge blue waves. At the same time, the colored claws tore at the black virtual flash. Scoff! The sharp claws of the Leopard King directly collided with the black virtual flash of complete destruction. The expected stalemate did not appear, but after a stalemate for a while, the unstoppable claws of the Leopard King seemed as if the Leopard King ripped the hunter to pieces. The devouring sounded with the sound of flesh and bones breaking, and the black virtual flash was actually divided into 2 by the claws of the Leopard King. Not only that, but 8 of the 10 claws of the Leopard King were destroyed in order to defeat the black void flash, and the remaining 2 directly hit Ulquiorra, tearing his 2 arms into powder, and at the same time containing the strength of the force knocked Ulquiorra out like a cannonball, knocking down several buildings in a row, and then burying it under the ground with a bang before it stopped. 636-637 Achievement of the Leopard King. Ulquiorra, you are defeated. Grimjow smiled confidently when he saw Ulquiorra's broken arms, and he won. The ultimate, there are 10 leopard claws, each of which raises the salty power to the ultimate strength that can be displayed by Ulquiorra. Therefore, the power of each claws of the Leopard King is much more than that of Wang Shu's flash. A single one may not be as good as the black virtual flash, but the combination of 10, the sacrifice of 8 is certainly enough to resist the black virtual flash. Not only that, the remaining 2 also hit Ulquiorra hard. Not only that, but Grimjow belongs to the kind of big virtual that focuses on speed and attack, so he gave up the ability to regenerate over speed to get more powerful attack power, so Grimjow's Panther's Claw and Black Ulquiorra's Heizushin banged against each other, and Heizushin was not unjustly defeated. Really, Ulquiorra vomited blood. Just now, he felt as if he was being crushed by a mountain, ignoring his own defenses against his internal organs. Although it was not broken, he was also affected to a certain extent. Grimjow Vivi was stunned for a moment, and then he understood. Did you choose to keep the super speed regeneration? It seems that you are not a Daxu who advocates attack, but I am the opposite of you. What I advocate is a strong attack, an extremely fast speed and an absolute edge to destroy the opponent's shoe, so you lost. But I'm not at all happy to win. Grimjow looked at the blood that remained at the corner of Ulquiorra's mouth, wondering why he not only did not have the joy of defeating his opponent in the past, but also felt a little lonely. And the fleeting loneliness in his eyes was caught by Ulquiorra, which made Ulquiorra think that he had no heart. His left chest jumped suddenly, and a trace of light flashed in his eyes. The color of enlightenment, he seemed to understand something at this moment, and Hirako Mako, who was observing, immediately noticed the change in Ulquiorra. It's a pity, if such a good seedling is with the master of Chengkong, his achievements will definitely not be only like this. Now even if he realizes something, it is too late, and his life has been ruined by Aizen. Hirako Mako obviously also knew that Ulquiorra had realized the meaning of his heart because of Grimjow's loneliness at this moment, so that his heart was no longer empty, but it was a pity that it was too late, and at the same time Hirako Mako also thought of Hiyori, Liuch Quanchi and the others, all of them were ruined their whole lives. Although the method is different, it is still the same in the end. The strength of the sky is temporarily obtained, but the achievement in life will never stop there. Seeing the situation of Ulquiorra, the murderous intention hidden in his heart appeared again. Grimjow, can you show me your strongest strength? Ulquiorra Vivi closed his eyes, and after a while he opened them again, no longer the empty eyes of the past. But there is a trace of light, and at the same time he has made some kind of decision in his heart. Okay. Grimjow didn't vent his joy after his victory as proudly as he used to. Seeing Ulquiorra appearance at this time, he didn't know that Ulquiorra had already realized something. But at the same time, he also knew that it was too late, which made him very angry with Aizen. This guy can use Benyu himself, and he has to use it on Daxu. Crack it, Leopard King. Although Grimjow didn't know the decisive aura of Ulquiorra body, he also sensed something. Is it Marcio Lassifa's last wish? Then let him do it. Boom. The clouds in the sky were suddenly swept away by a sudden sky blue spiritual pressure, and the earth began to tremble. All buildings within a 100-meter radius of Grimjow were destroyed by this spiritual pressure. Grimjow, who had hidden all his strength and burst out, was actually so powerful, but Ulquiorra was not surprised, but quietly looked at Yilimjiao wrapped in a sky blue reiki. The spiritual pressure subsided, and the exposed Grimjow's body turned into a white leopard king, to be precise, a leopard man. The turquoise eyeshadow extended to the temples, the ears became turquoise leopard ears, and the hair became waist length. The mask was moved to his forehead. Although the Reiatsu was restrained, the hidden pressure on his body made Ulquiorra feel like he was being stared at by a beast. It's so strong, even if you were a beginner warstered before and I fought, you wouldn't necessarily lose, and your second stage return blade similar to mine, the Thunder Spear, as only the talented warst it. You have never used the two special abilities of talent, and I am not wronged. Ulquiorra stood up slowly, walked over to Grimjow and said. However, it didn't take long for you to break through to the high-level warstered. Although it has stabilized, the two middle-level warsters only made you barely reach it, and the Reiatsu still hasn't reached the limit that you can currently accommodate. That's fine, at least I still have a role to play. I can only help you so much. I hope your mount will not become a burden to your king. Aizen's hand is the blueprint of a part of my soul, and I will be resurrected after I die, but at that time I was completely created by Aizen's collapsing jade power, and then I will be completely manipulated by him. Don't be right. I keep my hands, and if I meet again after the resurrection, it will devour me. Ulquiorra ignored Grimjow's shocked gaze, as if he was speaking to the air. As he spoke, on the other side, Ichigo Kurosaki and others were surprised, puzzled, and under the strange gaze of Ulquiorra. A green light emanated from Sifa's body, and soon this green light completely enveloped Ulquiorra. In the end, he flew directly to Grimjow, and merged directly into Grimjow's body, and then it was like a rock sinking into the sea, and there was no more life, but Grimjow knew that Ulquiorra was dead. He gave all of his spiritual pressure to himself and let himself devour it. He made Grimjow the Leopard King entirely by himself, and made him stronger. Remembering what Ulquiorra had said before, a tear flashed in the corner of Grimjow's eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. Aizen! Grimjow suddenly roared up to the sky, and swept into the sky with the momentum belonging to the Leopard King. Unexpectedly, Ulquiorra was dead and would not let him live, but he used Benyu to take part of him. As soul recatalyzes Ulquiorra made entirely out of the power of Benyu. 637, 638 Husband, too fierce. Not only that, compared to the previous Ulquiorra, he was completely like a puppet after the resurrection. Aizen wanted him to live and die, and he couldn't even have the idea of resistance. Aizen was still the master of Benyu for one day, and he had absolute control over the Daxu that was completely catalyzed by the power of Benyu. A single thought can make Ulquiorra die, and Ulquiorra can be turned into a puppet without the slightest sense of reason to obey Aizen's words and do things. How can this not make Grimjow angry? Aizen, I'll cut off all your fangs. Then I'll see what you can do alone. You idiot thinks you'll be invincible if you get Benyu, but you don't know how many powerful enemies you've provoked yourself. Either Hirako Mako or Kuchiki Shanghai alone is enough to kill you. Grimjow is not an idiot. Of course he knew that he had obtained all the Reiatsu of Ulquiorra. After tempering and removing all the impurities, the Reiatsu would be even bigger and purer than the blue. There is still a big gap between Ran, so he didn't rush to find Aizen for nothing, but a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. It's also time to go back. Aizen will be here in 2 days. HMPH, don't let me down with your so-called 10 blades. Grimjow calmed down the anger in his heart after he made a decision in his heart, opened the black voice leading to the soul realm directly, and walked out. Is this the end? Asanjing Renji's eyes widened. He thought that this exciting battle would last for a long time, but he didn't expect it to end in the blink of an eye, leaving him for a while a little unresponsive. That Daxu named Grimjow has gained further strength after receiving Ulquiorraxifer's Reiatsu. Ishida Yulong's glasses flashed with a gleam of light. His eyesight was so good, of course he could see what Ulquiorraxifer was doing just now, but he didn't expect that there would be a life and death battle between Daxu and each other after devouring each other. With such a complicated relationship, it was obvious that there was a relationship between Grimjow and Ulquiorraxifer in the past. Damn, one of the 10 blades made me fall into such a hard fight, so what about the others? Kurosaki Ichigo only felt powerless for a while. After he had learned the blurring, now he has extended the duration of the blurring, and his strength will be greatly improved. The improvement, I didn't expect to face the 10 blades would be so powerless. However, he also thinks the strength of the 10 blades is too strong. The current 10 blades, in addition to the overwhelming strength of the top 3 against Kurosaki Ichigo, the latter he can fight against one, but today, he is facing Ulquiorraxifer, who ranks second among the 10 blades, and it is difficult to be unbeaten. Kazuki, you can clean up the mess, I'll prepare. Aizen washes his neck and waits for me. The smile on Hirako Mako's face slowly subsided, and he said to Urahara Kazuki in a tone that could not be rejected, let Urahara Kazuki's eyes flashed. Mako who looks like this can be said to be the most terrifying, and the expression he only shows when facing someone who has great hatred or thinks of someone who is sure to kill. He only saw it once. Be lazy, just be lazy, don't say it so grandly. Urahara Kazuki opened a fan and incited it lightly, but he still walked out. He didn't want to face Hirako Mako like this. At the same time, he secretly thought to himself that it was no wonder that old man Yamamoto would choose a seat captain between the dead Wood Shanghai and the son Mako, and it was difficult to decide whether to directly choose the more serious Shanghai. Mako usually seems to be smiling, not serious and easygoing. However, once he violated his bottom line, the sharpness displayed by him is indeed frightening, and he does have a Xianyan as the captain. Although the old man Yamamoto's thoughts were secret, how could he hide it from Kazuki Urahara, who could even succeed in Aizen's calculations under his nose? He has already seen it clearly, but these have nothing to do with him, so he is too lazy to deal with it. It is better to do an experiment. It doesn't matter who is the captain, as long as he can just keep researching. Come back, Your Reiatsu. Stark saw a black voice suddenly appeared in front of him, and immediately knew that Grimjow had returned, but he was a little surprised after seeing it clearly, compared to the previous one. When Grimjow came back, it was obvious that he was stronger again. That guy Ulquiorraxifer gave me all his Reiatsu. Che, it's really annoying, he gave it to me without my consent. Grimjow lay down on the sofa, holding a bottle of ice wine and drank it. Although he only said so much, Stark was keenly aware that Grimjow was in a bad mood. Because it was related to Ulquiorrax, but Stark didn't say anything, but drank directly with Grimjow. The atmosphere between Stark and Grimjow on this side was rather dull and a little sad, but Lu Chengkong's side was very cheerful. Looking around, Lu Chengkong was posing with Saifeng Yuan Yi at the moment. Tequila battles with difficult moves. Yi's groaning and Lu Chengkong's low-pitched panting sounded together as if they were composing a piece of music that was full of human primitive happiness, especially when combined with the sultry atmosphere in the air that made one's mind rippling. Here is a paradise to enjoy the bliss on earth. I can't do it. Husband, don't be so hard. Saifeng Yuan Yi's face was covered with a seductive blush, making her look with the soft and healthy curves and the skin of Xiaoyan. The attractive and hot body is even more beautiful and moving, but it is a pity that Yi has not spoken a word on and off, and has once again been sent to the peak of bliss. Husband, you are too fierce. Usually I can't stand it anymore. Why are you suddenly more powerful than Zacian today? Saifeng Yuan, who had regained his senses, gasped for breath at night, enjoying the afterglow of the climax while angering Lu Chengkong's weak, especially when he saw Hannibal, a jade-like body that was already swollen in all directions behind him. When all the girls were lying on the big bed, Lu Chengkong gave Lu Chengkong a blank look. This husband is good in everything, but he is too fierce, so many sisters can't satisfy her. And after hearing from Hannibal, Lu Chengkong had already fought with Mao Zihua in the hall before this. Lai is well fed and then happens to meet 7 girls including himself playing, and another fight. 638-639 Broken Bee smashed through the charming. One man versus so many women, and every woman fights amazingly. When on Earth, even if dozens of super from Europe and the United States add up, they can't match the fighting power of any of Lu Chengkong's wives. That terrifying the suction and compressive force are enough to instantly disarm any man except Lu Chengkong. Among them, Mao Zhiwali is even more powerful than them, Luanju Yi and other girls. Even if he thinks that among the girls, Yi, Luanju, and Hannibal have the highest fighting power, the 3 girls together are not as good as Mao Zhiwali. However, Lu Chengkong and Mao Zihua were very passionate first, and then came to fight with their 7 daughters. After defeating his own 7 daughters, Lu Chengkong was still so brave and spirited. It seems that the fighting power that has always improved makes Saifeng Yuan knight. Love it and hate it. I used to be very fierce, but I used to endure it every time when it was just you and Lu Anju. Now that there are more people, of course I let go. Lu Chengkong is also a man, and when he heard his own woman's emancipation, the praise in his heart and the love-hate expression on his face certainly gave him a sense of accomplishment. You'll be embarrassed if you praise you. Saifeng Yuan Yi looked at Lu Chengkong's smug look, and immediately sang a rivalry with him, but the tender infatuation in her eyes was still there. The pride in having such a man could not be concealed from Lu Chengkong's eyes. Boom. Master Yi, there is a message from the captain of Yamamoto. Aizen will completely liberate Bengyu the day after tomorrow. When that time comes, please prepare yourself. Just as Lu Chengkong was ready to start at that time, the door of the room suddenly opened with a slam and his eyes opened. Besides the women living here in Lu Mansion, the only one with such privilege was the little bee called Broken Bee. It's just that this time, she obviously came at a bad time. She broke into the door and made a serious report. It's a pity that when she raised her head in the middle of the sentence, Lu Chengkong and Saifeng Yuan Yi met each other. Body hugging together. The extravagant air in the air is constantly pouring into Broken Bee's Chong nose, and the dragon that made her eyes unable to move is Lu Chengkong's giant dragon, which is still placed in the peach blossom garden of Yi in Saifeng Yuan, which she most admires and loves. The scene clearly reflected in the depths of her heart, making it difficult for her to breathe, and a slight blush appeared on her face. Logically speaking, since the army is mainly based on assassination, the minimum requirement is of course what kind of situation it faces, and what kind of things it sees, even if it is in the scene of the Broken Bee who ruled that army, of course, did it as the leader. In fact, she has seen no matter how ruthless the scene is, but her face remains unchanged, and her heart does not fluctuate in the slightest, but Broken Bee has a weakness. That is, even if it is a trivial matter, as long as it is with Saifeng Yuan Yi she can no longer maintain a normal mind. What's more, what she sees is not a trivial matter. How can she not let her heart be in chaos? Master Yi, since I don't have anything to do with me here, I'll leave first. Broken Bee glanced at the messy people behind the 2, but they were all filled with satisfaction, and her face flushed with joy. Hannibal and other women who had already slept in the past, seeing Yi's love-hate expression in Saifeng Yuan, knew where Yi's Broken Bee was, yet they didn't know that this was a very dangerous signal. It was obvious that Yi was not satisfied with Lu Chengkong, and she just broke in at such a time, but it was very dangerous, but the danger she expected had already come before she left. Broken Bee, you little bee has destroyed me many times. Since you have to share weal and woe with Yi, now Yi can't take it anymore. Are you going to take her place, little bee? Is it just what you say with your mouth? Lu Chengkong didn't use a tough method to leave Broken Bee, Instead, he said in a slightly playful voice behind him. Obviously, he had already figured out Broken Bee's temperament, and being tough would definitely be counterproductive, but if he took advantage of Broken Bee's heart, the scumbag, if you stimulate her, she might have an unexpected harvest. Hey, don't think that you are stronger than me and you can insult my feelings for Lord Yi, who said that I just said it with my mouth. What's the big deal? As long as Lord Yi is happy, it's nothing to worry about. Sure enough, the footsteps that Broken Bee had just lifted stopped immediately, and she turned around with a swipe. If she was calm, she would definitely immediately realize that Lu Chengkong was deliberately provoking her, but Lu Chengkong actually said that she had a crush on Sifeng Yuanyi. Feelings are fake. Even if Broken Bee is calm or knows that Lu Chengkong is deliberately provoking him, he will not hesitate to prove his feelings for Sifeng Yuanyi are beyond doubt. Broken Bee, you little idiot. Sifeng Yuanyi lay silently in Lu Chengkong's arms, obviously being stimulated by her. What can she say with such a loyal sister? But this sister obviously jumped into the pit dug for her by her husband. With her understanding of Broken Bee's temperament, plus her presence and being heard by herself, she can definitely do anything in order to prove that she is a loyal and unswerving Broken Bee in front of Yi, and don't think Broken Bee is an idiot. If it was someone else who would have done it a long time ago, but in front of the question, this is her favorite husband at night. She knows the salty power of the pillow wind, and the pillow wind is not only used by women. Although he knew that Lu Chengkong was deliberately provoking himself and would not do it, she would never allow this situation to happen, even if it was not possible at all, and he swore to follow Yi for eternity, since Yi was married. In her life, if she wants to get married, she can only marry the husband of Sifeng Yuanyi. Otherwise, this is tantamount to being unfaithful to Sifeng Yuanyi. She has to say that she is not loyal to Sifeng Yuanyi. Yi's feelings have already penetrated deep into her soul, and no matter how many Jinghua Shui you hypnotize Broby, it can't change the effect on her. In a word, a beautiful woman, you are amazing. Sifeng Yuanyi gently bit Lu Chengkong's chest, saying that biting is better than kissing, sucking, licking to be more accurate. She can't be jealous when facing the Broken Bee. If it was another woman who devotes herself in front of her for no reason, she would still be able to be coquettish and lose her little daughter's temper, but the Broken Bee in front of her was obviously doing this to prove her unquestionable feelings for Yi, just for the sake of her own, so can she still be jealous? It can be said that she is really dumb and can't tell how hard it is to eat Wanglian. She can only watch the little bee, the small bee, jumping into the arms of the big bad wolf, Lu Chengkong, without any reluctance to force it. 639-640 Eat a Broken Bee. No matter what Sifeng Yuanyi thought, the Broken Bee, who had already made a decision, was shy and timid, a little nervous, but very firm, and removed all the shackles on his body, revealing a large area of snowy skin and jade skin, which is dazzling. Eye-catching, very attractive. Yi, I didn't expect the little bee to be a bit predictable. Lu Chengkong looked at the body of the bee. The bee was originally that kind of petite, and of course there was no way to be as tall, plump and perfect as the bee. Compared with mature beauties, Lu Chengkong has always felt that Broken Bee is similar to young Sendao. It's just that now that he has untied all the restraints, he finds that he is also misunderstood. This Broken Bee is definitely a bit fuller than the young Centao's figure, at least it is bumpy, and it does not give the same greenness as the young Centaur. Astringent feeling. Not only that, Lu Chengkong now fully understands why Yi was so fond of teasing Shuibei before, because the appearance of Shubi after blushing looked so cute. HMPH. After hearing Lu Chengkong's words, Broby was shy and annoyed, but also a little proud and puffed out the little white rabbit in front of her chest, as if she was signaling to Lu Chengkong, telling Lu Chengkong not to underestimate himself of. I'm satisfied with you, you big pervert. Sifeng Yuan gave Lu Chengkong a stern look at Yi. She seemed to have recovered completely after she didn't have much strength at first, but she pushed Lu Chengkong down. At the same time, head down. She swallowed Lu Chengkong's giant dragon under the rippling eyes of Broken Bee. Up and down, obviously she was worried that Broken Bee, who had broken her body for the first time, couldn't bear Lu Chengkong's whipping, and now her peach blossom spring, even the little chrysanthemum doesn't know how many degrees it has been bloomed by Lu Chengkong, and it has long been overwhelmed. But she didn't want to see Lu Chengkong holding back. As long as she was energized and exerted herself, she regained her little strength to personally fight with Broken Bee. First, she wanted to satisfy Lu Chengkong. Her husband was holding back. Of course she wanted to give Lu Chengkong some sweetness. It was really sisters who shared weal and woe together. Lu Chengkong only felt that his lower body had entered a warm and moist passage, with a naughty little tongue constantly teasing him, which made Lu Chengkong feel so comfortable that he almost couldn't help but cry out. "Master Yi, you are already very tired, wait for me to come." Cui Feng followed Yi Yi for so long. Of course, he could see why Yi Yi did what he did. He was moved and happy, and even forgot the shyness just now. The heart is more and more firm. He directly pulled Cui Feng Yuan Yi away, threw himself into Lu Chengkong's arms, and twisted his little buttocks. Although the movement was jerky, it made Lu Chengkong enjoy it even more. Suddenly, Lu Chengkong's giant dragon changed the venue again. With the sound of the Broken Bee's painful cry, the dragon entered a place that was warmer, smoother, and more compact than before. Soon Lu Chengkong and Broken Bee started a new round of human creation under the eyes of Cui Feng Yuan Yi's hatred and resentment. This kind of smell is no less than the most intense. Whether men or women smell it, they will burn with lust. The next day, Lu Chengkong climbed out of the pile of big buttocks and big breasts early. Tomorrow will be the day when Aizen comes. Of course, if it's just Aizen's hair, of course it's not worth his seriousness. After all, Aizen is watching Lu Chengkong now. Come on, a little ant. After 4 times of Benyu evolution, his strength is only the elementary Scrito, and it is not a little worse than the elementary Scrito. It still felt like his own intuition. He always felt that the collision between Soul and Soul World and the virtual circle would not be as simple as the original anime, and there would definitely be a lot of follow-up events happening one after another. It's really the calm before the storm. The mountains and the rain are about to come and the wind will fill the building. Lu Chengkong felt the calmness in the searing garden, and even the present world after Ulquioricifer's death became extremely peaceful, but this kind of calm is different from the tranquility of the past, but it seems that a sky and sea with a larger storm and tsunami are brewing. "Are you worried about Wang Shu and King Ling?" Mao Zhawali's motherly and tolerant voice suddenly sounded behind Lu Chengkong, and the voice seemed to have a strange magic power that calmed Lu Chengkong's heart. "If it's just a single person, I'm not too worried, but I fully expect them to come, but after seeing their fusion skills, I feel a little worried. Last time we were able to drive him away after fusion, but it accounted for a lot of luck. This time they will definitely take precautions. Once they merge, they will immediately cast a thunder strike on us, destroying the 2 of us with the fastest and strongest force, and because of the strength on our side, Wang Shu and Ling Wang, who are incompatible with water and fire, will be completely destroyed. United together. At least before we fall, the partnership between the 2 of them will definitely be very close. What's more, I have a feeling that Wang Shu and King Ling will be stronger when we meet again next time. No matter what they say, they are the first in the world. Shu and the first god of death, aptitude and talent are nothing to say. This injury may be an opportunity for them." After the union with Mao Zhawali, her feelings soared day by day. Of course, Mao Zhawali could not have any secrets to Lu Chengkong. Lu Chengkong knew her identity and the secrets of King Spirit and Wang Shu, so Lu Chengkong would be more careful. "You are a little bit wrong. How can I feel the strong fighting spirit from you? You can hide from everyone, but you can't hide from me, who is both a mother and a wife. Your current strength is alone. I'm not afraid of either Wang Shu or King Ling. You really think I don't know?" Mao Zhawali hugged Lu Chengkong from behind, put his head on his back, and laughed and scolded Lu Chengkong for a while, but more of it was flirting between husband and wife, mixed with some mother's love and concern for their children have brought the brilliance of motherhood and the gentleness, intellectuality, elegance of women to the extreme. Ha ha. Lu Chengkong smiled embarrassedly. If he were to say who the person he couldn't hide the most in the world of death, Then it would be Maujawali, followed by the little girl Bachinliu. Just like a large or small drug detection dog, they will smell and find out any secrets about themselves, and they will not make you feel disgusted, but will have a family-like feeling of warmth, comfort and care.